And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pam File versus Childers. Step forward, please.
25-year-old nurse's assistant Myva Pamphile is suing the father of her child, 26-year-old construction worker Dell Childers, for a loan. Dell says after the death of their child, Myva kept the insurance money.
Ms. Pamphile, the defendant was your boyfriend. You had 2 children together. Unfortunately, sadly, I read in your complaint that one of your children died. One of your sons died. How old was he when he died?
10 months old.
This case involves an alleged loan. You claim that you lent the defendant a little over $2,000 to purchase a car that needed some repairs. Mr. Childers says you're just being mean. You collected $10,000 when your son died. You didn't share that with him, even though he feels as if he could have asked you to share that with him. He paid a lot of money over the years to you, and there was never any agreement to repay this money. That's your defense, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just curious, was there an insurance policy on your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Who took out that policy?
I did, ma'am.
How much was the funeral for your son?
$5,000.
Tell me about this loan to Mr. Childers.
Dell and I, we've been together off and on since 1996. He moved in January 2004, and he started looking around for a car. He said that he wanted to help me and his other child's mother take care of his kids. So he wanted to get a car.
That's really nice of him.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He already owes $30,000 in child support, and I lent him $200 for a down payment so that he could secure the car, and he made arrangements with the owner to come back on the 10th when I could withdraw my money once I got paid again to give him another $2,100. So that was a total of $2,300. Once he got his car, he started coming in at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, not coming home. So, okay, I kicked him out because it wasn't working. So we waited a while. On the 24th, he kept calling me. He wanted to borrow some money to get an alternator.
How much more money did you give him?
Another $140.71 that I took out of my checking account using my debit card.
She used the word loan.
Just a second.
Those were...
Just shh. Do you owe her any money in child support?
I owe the state of California. I don't owe her. The whole time she had that policy out, the child support out on me, we were living together.
So, excuse me, what you're saying is during all the time that your children were born, the 2 of you were together, were living together?
Most of the time.
What happened when you weren't living with her? Were you sending her money for your boys?
No, but I was working and they were taking money out of my checks.
Do you have any proof of that, sir?
I didn't bring any today. I didn't think we would get that far into it.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
3 living children. So you had 4.
I have 2 living children. I have 3 altogether.
So you have 2 living children, and now the 2 living children are living in 2 separate homes. You're not living in either one of them. Is that right?
I am living in my youngest child's life right now.
And
he
when
was
did you
cheating on me with her.
Shh. And when did you start to live with that woman?
2 weeks ago.
Mr. Childers, it is difficult enough, sir, to raise a child as a single parent. You're not supposed to make it more difficult. You're not supposed to drain money out of that household. You're supposed to put money into the household. Do you understand?
Yes, and I've done that.
I don't care what you've done in the past, sir. That's what you're supposed to do. You made 2 children with this lady. You know, that's your responsibility.
And it is.
Anything can have children. Fish, frogs, camels, elephants. A lot of things have children. Even those animals take care of their children until they're old enough to be out on their own. All I'm suggesting to you is, if you made 2 babies, it's your responsibility to put money into their households, if you're not living there, in order to help support them. They're not supposed to be a drain on the household. And if you can't afford a car yourself, you don't buy it. You understand each other?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I have another child, a 9-month-old with another woman. When we broke up, you know, that's why she wanted to give me back for all the money she so-called gave me.
Instead of me getting the house that I wanted, I'm still living in an apartment complex that I don't want to live in.
That's an untrue statement. I didn't take a home away from her, you know. She kicked me out before we can actually build up more money to buy a home.
It just goes to show that you can't, no matter what, how much you care about somebody, you can't lend them money.
She can't have me, and that's just how it is.
National Guard Administrator Wendy Moore is suing homemaker Nelda Bailey for her son's medical bills and car repair bills. Wendy says Nelda's daughter was killed when the girl drove her car without permission and rolled it. Nelda's countersuing for her daughter's funeral expenses.
Quiet in the courtroom. This is case number 370 on the calendar, the matter of Moore versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young man, have a seat.
Miss Moore, I assume this is your son, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
14.
You're a lucky boy. Miss Moore, according to your complaint, you have a friend, and that friend is the sister of the defendant.
Correct.
Her name is Patricia. Patricia came over to your home for an evening with her daughter, Patricia's niece.
Correct.
And they were going to spend the evening. Your daughter, 16.
Correct.
And at some point in the evening, you gave your son the keys to your car so that he and Miss Bailey's daughter could go out and listen to music in the car.
The keys were already in the car.
You left them in the car?
I did, because of where we live, yes.
So you've always left the keys in the car?
Always.
And your son asked you if they could go out and listen to music in the car, and you said yes?
Yes.
And then at some point during the night, your son and Miss Bailey's daughter took the car. Is that right, young man?
Yes.
Oh, step up. You took the car at what time?
At about 10 o'clock.
At night?
Yes.
Where was your mother?
In bed.
And where was Patricia?
Sleeping on the couch.
Your daughter, Perry Ann?
Yes.
Were you friendly with her?
Yeah.
And you went out to the car with Perry Ann?
Correct.
And what did you do?
We listened to music and talked.
And then what happened?
She went in the house. I was
Look at me. I want you to look at me in my eyes when you're telling me this story.
I was in the car for about 20 minutes, and she came out and said that she wanted to see if she could, because we have 7 acres of property, and she said she wanted to drive down to our grandpa's house just to take the car, and I wasn't thinking anything bad of it because she lets me do it all the time.
Who'd let you do it?
My mom.
So your mom lets you drive the car all the time?
On the property.
Okay. So you thought there was no problem with that?
Right. And then when we got to my grandpa's house, she turned onto the road and said her friend lives about a quarter of a mile away, so we went to her friend's house, and they weren't there. So on the way back, she was just going like 60 miles per hour on a corner and fishtailed it, and we flipped the car.
So the car flipped over, and Perry Ann was driving?
Right.
And you were the passenger playing music?
Yeah.
And Perry Ann was killed at the scene?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
This happened several months ago.
October 3rd.
And Miss Moore, you want Miss Bailey, you want her to pay for your son's medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
And the car, because the car was totaled.
Right.
Miss Bailey has a counterclaim for her daughter's pain and suffering and her loss of life, because her daughter was killed in your car where you made the keys available, and you gave her daughter permission to be in the car.
To listen to music. I didn't give her permission to drive the car. She did that on her own free will.
How many children do you have, Miss Moore?
2.
How old are they?
25 and 14.
And you let your 14-year-old son drive the car, he says.
Only on the property.
I don't care if he drives on the property, if he drives it on Pluto. He's not permitted to be behind the wheel of a car.
On private property, you are. Okay, fine.
You know what your son just said to me? Your son just said to me that when Miss Bailey's daughter came out and said she wanted to drive the car down to somebody's house on the property, that would be okay because you gave him permission to drive on the property all the time. That's what you just said to me, right?
No.
Well,
I didn't speak to you.
she told me that she had a permit.
No. Listen to me, sir. What you told me a moment ago was when she came out and said she wanted to drive the car on the property, you thought it would be okay because your mother lets you drive the car on the property all the time. Isn't that what you just said to me?
Yes.
You don't want to change that now, do you?
Yeah.
You can't. Was your daughter killed instantly in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I have the police report if you'd like to read it.
Sure.
And there's photos of the car also, if I'd like to see that.
What difference does it make?
Just asking.
What difference does it make? I mean, do you honestly believe that you have a case? Do you honestly believe that any fact finder, whether it be a judge or a jury, is going to find your position sympathetic, Miss Moore?
I never gave her permission to drive the car.
Listen to me. So is what you're telling me that if she were killed on the property because she was driving the car, your position would be different? Is that what you're telling me? That if the car turned over on the property, your position would be different? Think carefully what you just said.
That I never gave her permission to drive the car.
No, that's not what you just said. You said I never gave him permission to drive off the property.
I never gave her permission to drive the car, period.
You don't have to. You gave them the method. You gave them a car with the keys in it.
The keys are always left in the car. Because we live out in the middle of nowhere.
Miss Moore, there is something wrong with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Andy Moore says homemaker Nelda Bailey owes for her son's medical bills and car repair bills due to an accident caused by Nelda's deceased daughter.
Madam, there is something very wrong with you because other than saying to this lady, I know I can never make it better. And I have my son, who looks very healthy to me.
Going through physical therapy.
Just a second. Just say, who looks very healthy to me. He was able to come with you to court today, and he doesn't look like he's missed a meal. Other than that, I would turn to her and I would say to her, I can't tell you how terrible I feel that in my home, in my car, with the keys that I leave in the car, your daughter met such an early death. Instead of saying that, you sue her for the damage to your car. You're an idiot. Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000.
Why did you send your daughter up here?
I just want to plead to parents when you're in a party environment, keep an eye on the children.
Carrie Ann died because she made some very stupid mistakes.
No one should leave keys in a vehicle. I don't care where you live.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Osborne versus Lacey. Step forward, please.
Truck driver Charles Osborne is suing his former friend, writer Michael Lacey, for injuries due to a car accident. Charles says he was a backseat passenger when Michael choked on coffee and drove his car off the road.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a passenger in a car that was being driven by Mr. Lacey, according to your complaint. I don't know where you gentlemen were on your way to, but you're going to tell me you were sitting in the back seat. According to what I read, there was an accident, you were injured, and you want to be compensated for your medical bills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Lacey says this was an accident and you weren't wearing your seatbelt and whatever. Take care of your own medical expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing in Mr. Lacey's car?
Mr. Lacey had been commandeered by my business partner, Frank Owen, to drive us to Rushville, to small claims court.
Who had to be in small claims court?
Mr. Owen did.
And what happened, sir?
We were eastbound on Route 52, and Mr. Lacey had just passed a car doing about 58, 60 miles an hour. And he had taken a drink of coffee at the time, and when he did, he choked on the coffee. He held the accelerator to the floor. We went off to the side of the road. Frank was in the front seat. He tried to grab the wheel to hold it on the road. And I had pulled my seatbelt off quick and tried to jump over the seat to grab the wheel. But at that time, when we went off the road, and the car ended up going over some ravines and went catty-corner into a telephone pole, which hit like the rear door. And I slammed the door, knocked the power window buttons out of the door, broke the window out with my head. And the next time then we finally stopped, dead, and the airbag went off, and Mr. Lacey turned around to me and he said, I believe we were in an automobile accident.
I believe you were right. Can I see those pictures? I'm anxious to see.
Sure.
So I assume that
It's the same paper. So
It's the same paper.
okay.
Can't believe I'm going to get paid for reading the paper. So this says that both passengers, both you and Mr. Owen, were taken to the hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
What were the extent of your injuries?
I had a collapsed lung, and I still have the problem. I can move my head over this far on the left, and I can come all the way over on the right, but I still can't move it completely right.
Well, what would you have to move it all the way over for? What particular
I
exercise?
probably wouldn't unless I was looking at
I'm just curious.
I don't know, Your Honor.
Wait. Doctor, it hurts when I do this.
No,
Don't do that.
No, I'm just curious. What is it in your life, in your work or social life or whatever, that would require you to go all the way over on you?
Well, I'm a truck driver, and I have to leave my head out the window a lot of times to see the cars.
Well, you go out like this. You don't go down like this, right?
Well, I go like this to
Yeah, you go right just like that. That's enough.
Okay. All right.
Seems to me that's enough.
Okay.
So you don't have any long-term disability. You had some short-term problems. Let me see that medical bills, please,
Okay.
and what the doctor had to say about you.
Have an ambulance bill and a hospital bill and a doctor bill.
Okay.
But the one's gone into collection, so but they're all together, same dates.
Okay, Mr. Lacey, why shouldn't you be responsible for this? Didn't you have insurance?
I did not have insurance. It had lapsed.
Oh, Mr. Lacey, that's a big problem for you, sir.
Yes, I realize that, Your Honor.
Well, then why don't you think that you personally should be responsible for this? You were at fault in this accident.
I was at fault in the accident, but the plaintiff here says that he was injured, and he was out of the car walking around when I regained consciousness from the airbag, and did not exhibit any signs of trauma until the ambulance arrived. And then when the ambulance did arrive, he immediately went into a convulsed state and, made it sound like there was something wrong. And the rest of us were all walking around. He had been walking around.
Well, Mr. Owen was taken to the hospital, sir.
Mr. Owen was not taken to the hospital.
According to this, he was.
He was not.
Well, he was. And you're responsible. And if he wanted to go and get himself checked out, that's his prerogative. Mr. Osborne, you're suing for $5,000, sir. Why?
The hospital bills were $2,100.
Correct.
I was off work for 3 weeks, and I'm a percentage driver. I'm paid average about $820 a week.
Well, you have to show me something that indicates to me, sir, that you received medical treatment during the course of those 3 weeks, and the reason that you were out of work for 3 weeks was as a result of your injuries. Do you have medical records?
No, I don't. I didn't go see the doctor afterwards.
Well, that's unfortunate, sir. If I were out of work for 3 weeks, I would go see a doctor. You want to say anything?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. After leaving the hospital, Mr. Osborne walked to a nearby Pizza Hut to smoke a cigarette and drink a pop.
Did you do that, Mr. Osborne?
Yes, I did.
With a collapsed lung?
I didn't walk like I was jogging the 500, but I made it over there.
I mean, is what you're telling me, with a collapsed lung, you went over, you had a drink and a cigarette?
I tried to have the cigarette. I had to drive.
All right. Mr. Lacey, you are responsible minimally for his medical bills. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise was an accident, and I don't think there was anything irresponsible other than the fact that perhaps you were drinking a cup of coffee and you choked on it. Maybe you should just concentrate on your driving. So you are responsible for his medical bills, not $5,000 for his being out of work, for his being uncomfortable, for whatever else. I don't have any proof of that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me to have him mail the bills there, that he would settle up with them.
Mr. Osborne did have legitimate medical bills.
He doesn't have enough money to afford his alcoholism yet to pay that, so...
Well, I do know that he has a drug habit.
Well, he's going to say what he wants to say, so I'll just let him say it.
Mary Bankston is suing her ex-boyfriend, mechanic Weldon Hultgren, for charges he made on her credit card. Mary says she took Weldon in after he was released from prison.
Now, this is case number 474 on the calendar in the matter of Bankston versus Hultgren. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Bankston, who are these people?
This is April Hultgren, Bo's daughter, and my fiancé, Randy.
And who is this?
It's my fiancée, Tara Harris.
Everybody brings a fiancé. What do they have to do with this case? Anything?
She's seen some stuff and heard some stuff, and other than that, that's about it.
Okay. According to what I read, Miss Bankston, he used to be a friend of yours or a boyfriend of yours?
He used to live with me.
Live with you as a boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went to jail?
No, ma'am. He lived with me after he came out of jail.
What year did you go to jail, sir?
In January '92.
And how old was April in 1992?
7.
Who did she live with?
When I was in jail, she was living with my mom and my dad.
What happened with that?
They died.
When did they die?
In 96, my dad died, and in 98, my mom died.
What happened in 1998?
She went to live with a friend of mine for a little while, and her mother come got her. After that, Mary went and got her out of a motel room.
How old was she at the time, Miss Bankston?
She was 13 when I took her.
How did you find her in a motel room?
She called me and told me she wanted something she hadn't eaten in a few days, and I took her something to eat. And when I got to the motel, it was a bad place for her to be. And so I took her with me, and I raised her until he got out.
When did you get out?
2001, October 2001.
Were you in communication with Miss Bankston while your daughter was living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you tell her in this communication?
Told her I appreciated everything she was doing for her.
Who was supporting her at the time she was living with you?
I was.
When you got out of jail, Mr. Holgren, where did you go?
I moved in with Mary.
Mary and your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you start supporting the household?
I was pulling my share, ma'am.
What was he paying for?
He was paying like the electric bills, and I paid the house payment because it was my house before he came along, and he paid the electric bill and things like that. He was pulling his weight as long as he lived there. Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever ask Miss Bankstrom how much she spent on your daughter while you were incarcerated?
No.
Why not?
I don't have any idea why I didn't.
Well, this lawsuit's very simple. It said that at some point you used her credit card after you got out of jail while you were living with her. You used her credit card. You told her you would pay for the bills on her credit card, and you didn't. And you owe her some money, $1,100.
Right.
So?
She got me some credit cards off her account, and went and ate on them and done some stuff on them. I took my boy to World Series, Little League World Series up in Oklahoma on a gas card, and other than that, you know, I was paying them until I left.
And so what happened when you left?
I don't know, it wasn't a good scene.
Did you leave with your daughter or without your daughter?
I left without my daughter.
So you left your daughter there?
No, she wasn't living there at the time, I don't think.
Where was she living?
Living in another place.
Where was she living?
She was living with another friend of ours.
Why?
Her and her father did not get along, so she moved out of the house.
Okay. Can I see the charges that he made?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Would you like all the evidence? Or just
Sure.
That?
Golden Corral.
That's an eating establishment.
Japanese Palace.
Another eating establishment. I have several eating establishments that we ate at on my credit cards, too.
Well, this is a lot of eating out.
Been 10 years since I ate out anywhere, so we kind of ate out pretty regularly.
So why don't you pay for it?
Well, I really don't feel like I owe her anything on that, because I done some other things, I wasn't trying to get anything from her that I done over there. I mean,
Well, give me an example, sir.
I put a storage building in her backyard. It was like $900-something bucks. I helped put a central air and heating unit in her house. That was labor on there. I put some electrical work in the garage and stuff.
Well, how much do you think it takes to support a teenager, sir? A month?
Quite a bit.
Listen, if you have a large golden retriever, you can't take care of a large golden retriever for less than $100 a month. So
Right.
would you say it costs $200 a month to take care of a teenager?
At least.
Let's try 3.
Yeah, probably.
14 months, right? And she was there 14 months, and you didn't pay any support, right? So why would you stick her with $1,100 worth of bills?
The bottom line is that it was kind of crazy over there. There's several things that happened, and she wrecked my motorcycle and all that. Right
She
there
what?
at the end. She wrecked my motorcycle.
She wrecked your motorcycle. I couldn't understand. She wrecked your motorcycle. How'd
Right.
she do that?
Well, she took off on it and crashed
That he
it.
wouldn't even had if I had not had financed it for him.
And I was without the motorcycle for 3 months. I paid $500 a month on that while I was in the shop. $6,500 a month.
Well, did she do that on purpose?
Well, I told her not to get on it because she never rode one before, and she took off on it on her own wheel and crashed it. Hurt herself real bad. And then right before I got the motorcycle, I was going to refinance the motorcycle because she kept hounding me about getting it refinanced,
Because
out of
she
her
was on a
name.
loan.
Right. And,
Well, she asked you to refinance it because she didn't want to be on the loan.
Right.
Well,
So
that sounds right to me.
Well, I finally did that, and the day I was
No,
going
he
to...
didn't.
The day I was going to refinance it, she called me and told me that she wasn't going to sign off on that loan until I give her $1,000. And I said, well, I ain't giving you $1,000. And I went up there and traded it in and got it out of her name anyway.
What a prince. This is your fiancé. Is there anything you want to say to me?
Yeah, do I need to stand up?
You do.
I just have one comment, and that is whenever he went to refinance the motorcycle last year, he got his credit report and got it back, and it was about that thick, where he only had 4 credit cards in his name that he had gotten since they split up. Well, this had 18 open accounts on it.
We're not talking about the charges for those.
I know, but what I'm saying is...
What's your name?
Tara Harris.
Miss Harris, how old are you?
32.
You have children?
1.
How old?
12.
Who supports that child?
Me and him support him, and I get child support.
Get child support from the child's father?
Yes.
Get child support every month?
No, ma'am.
Every week?
No, ma'am.
How often?
Supposed to get it every month.
Yeah, and what happened?
He's been living at my house. He was with his dad. He's been living with us for the last year.
Oh, so before that he was living with his father?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you paying child support
Yes,
to his
ma'am.
father? How often?
Out of every paycheck, weekly.
Now, when you don't get child support from his father, does that annoy you?
Yes, ma'am.
And that child is biologically related to you.
Correct.
And biologically related to his father. How do you feel about somebody who doesn't feel any responsibility to somebody who supports their child for 14 months?
She lived with me for 5 years before he got out.
5 years. And pays for clothes, doctor, shoes, vacation, everything else. And doesn't say, as soon as I get out, I'm going to start paying you back for whatever you laid out, because I know that that's my responsibility. Think that kind of person has good moral fiber?
Actually, I think Bubba does have good moral fiber. He just, he didn't work for 10 years. He didn't have the money.
Well, he does now.
Yes, ma'am, he does, and he
So
greatly
just a second.
appreciates.
Just a second. I don't care if he appreciates. You got to put your money where your mouth is, honey. Appreciating is not good enough. How could you say he's got good moral fiber? He's working now. And if his child was supported by a stranger for 5 years, and not only supported by, but nurtured by, stayed with, took care of when she was sick, whatever else, you start paying that back. You start saying that was my obligation. And because I committed a crime doesn't mean that I don't have that obligation. So instead of not paying her support, now, I'm not talking about a year ago or 2 years ago, I'm talking about now. Instead of supporting your child, to whom he is not obligated in any way legally, you should send that money to her. She's not even suing for that money. I would love for her to do that. All she says is he used the credit card, $1,100, and that he should pay. Don't you think he should pay that too? Minimally.
No, I don't think he should pay that credit card debt.
You think he should pay her supporting his daughter?
He's probably, I would say that he's probably responsible for that.
Well, she's not suing. She's not suing him for that. She says, I took that responsibility on myself, and I'm not even going to pursue that. I just want what he's supposed to pay me on the credit card when he left. You get my drift.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I felt he can buy other things. He can buy a new Harley, but he couldn't pay me $1,100 for credit card bills that he charged up.
We're real grateful for her. I mean, I don't know what I've done. If she wouldn't have been here, I don't know where she'd be,
He has somebody else. I have somebody else. We're friends. We have a daughter together.
I'm just glad she's going to get paid so I don't have to hear him argue anymore.
I will never put nobody on my credit cards ever again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fitzgerald versus Whitney. Step forward, please.
23-year-old homemaker Kimberly Fitzgerald is suing her deceased father's fiancée, Leslie Whitney, for the return of her father's belongings. Kimberly says Leslie is a scammer.
Miss Fitzgerald, Miss Whitney and your father were together at the time that he died, and he died suddenly. He was a young man. He had a heart attack. And you want some property that you say belong to your father. You're one of 2 children. You say your brother doesn't want anything of your father's. You do. He died without a will. And according to you, Miss Whitney won't let you have his belongings. Right?
Yep.
When did your father have a heart attack? Do you know the date?
September 9th, 2004.
And prior to September 9th, when had you seen him?
I saw him about 3 days earlier.
Where?
He stopped by my house to see my son. Well, and me.
Prior to September the 6th, when your father came to see your son, when had you previously seen him?
The 4th of July.
How old was your father?
57.
Miss Whitney, how long had you and Vincent been together?
Over a year we were together, but we did not live together until June of last year.
He had another girlfriend in March.
Shh. You moved into his house?
Yes.
Where was he when he passed away?
He was on the road. He was a truck driver.
According to what I read, Vincent took out a life insurance policy with you as the beneficiary. Is
Yes.
that right? When did he do that?
In August.
Were you planning to get married?
Yes, we were going to be married September 17th, a week after he unfortunately passed away.
People invited to the wedding?
Yes.
Including his daughter?
No.
Why not?
He said that he didn't want, there wasn't a close-knit family. That's what he had told me. I had never met her, and he offered to, when he wanted to go see his grandchild and stuff, but it was like an in-and-out thing. He never really talked about his children.
How much was the life insurance policy that he took out in August?
$20,000.
But he named you as the beneficiary?
Yes.
Is there any other life insurance policy for any of his children?
No, there was not.
Did he have any bank accounts?
Yes, he did, but one was overdrawn, and the other one only had about $50 in it.
Now, I gather the day after your father died, you and your mother
Yes.
went to his apartment.
Yes. I didn't even know about her.
And how did you get into his apartment?
I was sitting outside. I didn't go into the apartment until Leslie came home.
How did your mother get into the apartment?
I don't know.
How did they get into the apartment?
They climbed through the kitchen window. It was a basement apartment. The windows were level with the ground. And I was on my way back from the hospital, and I came home, and she was outside with the baby, and the mother was in the bedroom.
What was your mother doing there?
She told me to wait outside. We had gone to my father's house to get his suit so that he could be buried. We were making preparations for his wake, and there was other paperwork and stuff that I needed. Since I am the administrator of my father's estate, I needed to get paperwork to straighten.
Well, you
things
weren't
out.
the administrator of his estate at that time because he died without a will.
No, at that time I was not.
You had to petition the court for letters of administration.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Now, according to Miss Whitney, she ultimately allowed you to come in and take certain property from the apartment.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're going to tell me what it is that you want.
We just want...
Who's we?
Well, okay, I just want the value of the property that was missing that Leslie told me I could have.
What do you want? Not the value. What do you want?
The kitchen table, the computer, the camera with the printer.
Kitchen table?
No, there's no kitchen table.
There's no kitchen table.
I moved
What else?
into the house myself.
What year?
Beginning of end of 2003.
Get over it. What else?
The computer. There was a brand new computer.
Where's the computer?
There was no computer. There was no computer. There's no kitchen table.
Okay. You have no idea where the computer is?
No, I don't.
What's next?
The digital camera.
Digital camera.
No, I don't. He had that. He used to carry that with him in his truck, and I didn't
What's
go
next?
to the truck.
The printer that went with the digital camera.
Miss Fitzgerald, get over it. From what I gather, based upon the fact that your father had taken out a life insurance policy, and instead of naming his 2 children as beneficiaries, he named this lady as a beneficiary of his insurance policy, you did not enjoy with your father the kind of relationship that was warm, continuous, and loving. Is that a fair statement? Realized that she was living there and that they were living together. They planned to be married. They clearly were in a monogamous, intimate relationship because the life insurance policy was taken out in August. You got a lot of your father's property. Nothing there, as far as I'm concerned, are memento things that you're asking for. You don't want to hang the kitchen table on your charm bracelet or the camcorder or anything else.
No, but there was family pictures.
If you said to me he had a watch that I would like to be able to give to my child one day because we were very close. Or he had a ring that was a family heirloom or something that was very close to him. You want a kitchen table, a computer, a camera, and a printer.
And pictures.
Should have taken pictures. What pictures?
I didn't have access to them.
You went into the house 3 times. You didn't even mention the pictures, Miss Fitzgerald, when you said you wanted the value of these things or the things. You didn't even mention pictures. I think you have to have something to occupy your time more than what you have. Because this is nonsense. Get over it. Get a life. That's all.
Funeral.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were not a close-knit family. I never met his daughter because he wasn't even associating with his daughter.
If all she wanted was his money, she got it.
I was going to marry him. It's not just her lot. She's making it all about her. That's not the case.
She says they were going to get married. I have no proof of that.
She's jealous that I'm getting a life insurance policy and she's not.
She doesn't have the decency to show up at his funeral or his wake or anything.
I was not invited to the funeral, by the way. They kept that hidden secret.
She walks away with $20,000 and I'm left stuck paying for his funeral.
I don't know whether to cry or I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Popejoy Swihart versus Ward. Step forward, please.
Student Rachel Popejoy and her father, Dwayne Swihart, are suing their former friend, systems analyst Margaret Ward, for misappropriating bail money meant for Rachel. Margaret says she used the money to buy food for Rachel's kids.
Miss Popejoy, you were arrested.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
On November the 12th.
What were you arrested for?
I was arrested for willful reckless driving, driving on suspension, and no proof of insurance.
And this was the first time you were arrested for something like that because
Correct.
they fixed very high bail.
Right.
And this is your complaint. You contacted your father.
Correct.
Told him you were in jail and could he please wire how much money?
$1,500.
For your bail? Yes, ma'am.
And he said probably reluctantly, okay. And he wired the money because you were living where, sir?
In Michigan.
And where were you living?
Omaha, Nebraska.
You wired the money to Miss Ward, who was a friend of your daughter's.
Correct.
With the instruction to go to court and bail her out.
Correct.
And when you went to court, they said you had been such a bad girl previously that the bail wasn't $1,500 but a lot more. How much?
$5,000 at that point.
Which you didn't have.
Correct.
So Miss Ward took $700 and put it in your prison account so that you could, get toilet paper and toothpaste and magazines and gum and whatever you needed. And she kept $800 for herself.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So that's what we're here for today. The $800 that Miss Ward kept for herself. So Miss Ward, the ball is now in your court and you're going to explain to me why you did not return the entire $1,500 to Mr. Swihart.
I first became involved with Rachel in June, and her children were coming to my house because they were starving, and I'm not using the term lightly. They were really hungry.
Were you neighbors?
Yeah, they live about 2 blocks from me.
So you started to give them food?
Mm-hmm. And so I did. I started feeding her children all summer. They came to me, and Shelby about moved in with me, and there were times when she and her boyfriend Jason would leave and they'd lock up the trailer. They wouldn't come back for 2 days. It's 90 degrees outside. They had no water and they had no access to a toilet or anything. They always came to me every time, and I took care of her children all summer.
Okay.
Then somebody called CPS on them, and she came to me and asked me for help. So I bought $250 worth of food because they had nothing, and it took quite a bit to put food in. And they didn't have any electricity and any gas. That had all been shut off. So I went down the following Monday, and I paid her electric bill was $186 so I could keep the food cold. And she promised she would pay me back. About a week after that, her boyfriend Jason came up into our house, and they were coming in all hours of night and day. They would come to our house asking for money. And he stole $225 from me. And then a week after that, he came up and he stole another $200 from my granddaughter. So after I couldn't put the bail money down, there wasn't enough money. She called me the same day and said she talked to them, and they said to put the $1,500, it was okay to go ahead and put that on her books. Well, I didn't really trust that. So
yeah, but you put only $700 on her books at the prison, and you kept $800.
Yeah, for the money that they had stole from me and the money she promised to pay me back.
Where are your children now?
My children are in foster care, Your Honor.
How old are your children?
15, 12, and 8.
They don't have any relatives who can help take care of them?
I don't have any family in Nebraska, Your Honor.
What about you?
We live in Michigan.
That's not Mars.
No, they can move up there anytime they want.
Well, why don't you make an application to the court to take your grandchildren, sir?
They told me they wanted to keep the children with my daughter.
Who did?
The counselors.
Well, are you still with this boyfriend?
Yes, I am. And we're both clean and sober, have been. We go to meetings every single night.
For how long have you been clean and sober?
For almost 90 days, Your Honor. I've completed a parenting class. I've completed a reactive behavior. I've taken several classes.
Listen to me, my darling. How long have you and Jason been involved with drugs?
For probably 6 months.
And what about Jason? How long have you been with Jason?
For about 8 months. I've known him for a couple of years.
Listen to me very carefully. You're not supposed to be a selfish person.
You're right.
Do you think your children would be happier with their grandparents or in strange foster care?
With their grandparents.
Then you tell the social worker that you would love to be reunited with your children at the appropriate time. Now's not it. Probably until Jason has been clean and sober for 3-4 years. Until that time, the children would prefer to be with their grandparents.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay, I know you say okay. You're not supposed to be selfish. Miss Ward, bottom line, my dear, you cannot resort to self-help. If you want to sue her for the money that she owes you. And if you want to sue Jason, sue him for the money you say he stole. But you can't take Mr. Swihart's money. Be ridiculous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Pardon your excuse, you may step out.
Even though her and Jason spent the money together, she had Jason steal everything.
I never said anybody to steal anything from her. I certainly wasn't raised that way.
Once the children were taken away, then she just came after me to see if she could get more money for drugs.
She has helped us out in the past, but she went to extreme with her lies, and all I can say is I'll pray for her.
I can't let this woman and her father stop me from doing what's right.
I'm just thankful to be here. Thanks, Judge Judy, for your time, and I've certainly learned my lesson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez versus Valladares, step forward, please.
25-year-old nurse's aide, Karina Lopez, is suing her former friend, 27-year-old nursing attendant, City of Valladares, for ripping the seat of her car. Karina says the incident took place during a night of drinking and clubbing.
Ms. Lopez, on the 15th of January, you, the defendant, and a bunch of other friends decided to go clubbing. You met at somebody's house. According to you, the defendant started to drink. She also took some medication. She said she had a headache. She got very drunk. You went to the club. You drove in your car. The defendant tried to get into the club, and she was denied entrance to the club because, according to, I think, both of you, she was too drunk. They wouldn't let her in. So you put her in your car.
Right.
To sleep it off, and you went in with your friends to the club. And when you came out of the club, you found the defendant still in your car, and the seat in the car was cut. She says she doesn't remember doing anything to your car and doesn't know how that damage occurred. Do you have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. Now, is this on the front passenger seat or the rear
front passenger seat?
Is that the seat that she was sitting with driving to the club?
No.
Who was sitting in that passenger seat?
Miss Hara.
That's this lady?
Yes.
Okay. When she exited the car, what time was it?
Miss Hara, it was 10:30.
At night?
Right.
Dark?
Yes.
And you didn't examine the car when she left?
No.
Did you examine the car before she got into the car at 10:30?
Yes.
You looked in the car seat? Don't say anything that's not true. If you say anything that's not true, I will hold that suspect. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Do you understand?
Yes.
Where did you find Miss Valladares?
Yes.
When you came back to the car 2.5 hours later, where was she seated?
In the front passenger seat.
And what was she doing?
Sleeping.
Did you see any sharp objects in her hand?
No.
Did you see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
Did anyone see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
So how do you intend to prove that the defendant caused the damage to the car?
Well,
This looks like a tear. Looks like something got caught on it. That's what it looks like. It looks like something got caught on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to prove that she did it?
Well, before leaving for the club, Ms. Valladares and I met at Ms. Hara's residence, where Ms. Valladares had some alcohol drinks.
She's drunk. I've already laid the framework. She was drunk. You knew she was drunk. You went to the club. They wouldn't let her in. You put her in the car. You came out. She was still sitting, according to you, in the front seat of the car. And later on, you noticed the car was ripped.
As we helped Ms. Valladares exit the car, that's when I realized that it was a tear on the seat.
And you saw no sharp objects in her hand?
No. I did not search Ms. Valladares. I don't know what happened. All I know is that the tear was not there.
No, all you know is the tear was not there when she got into the car.
Right. Ms. Valladares was also experiencing a lot of pain. The reason why she took the pain reliever is because she had gotten her tongue pierced the previous day.
What does that have to do with, what does that have to do
well,
with
I'm assuming that maybe she was in a lot of pain and I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how it happened. Neither do you.
Your Honor, may I come up?
Sure.
When we went to drop off Cyria to the car when Cyria let her inside the club, the tear wasn't there.
You don't know that at all.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I helped Karina put her
You don't know that
car.
at all. Madam, listen to me.
There.
10:30 at night. It's dark. She's
dark.
getting into the car. You're struggling to get somebody who's drunk in the car. Don't lie. Miss Valladares says that you took her property and refused to give her back her property, her pocketbook, her keys, her cell phone, unless she agreed to pay for this. Did you do that?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Valladares left her property behind in my car. She called me later on the following day and said she would come by and pick up her belongings. She never showed up. On the 17th, I offered to deliver her belongings to her. She said she had a lot of things to do and was going to be unavailable that day. On the 22nd, when I finally seen her, I delivered all her belongings to her.
Were the police called at any point?
Yes.
Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Police contact you?
Yes.
They told you you had to give her property back?
No, they contacted me because the police officers said that Ms. Valladares feared for her safety at work. That's what I was told.
At that point, did you give her back her property?
On the 22nd, when I finally
Just answer my question. After the police spoke to you, did you give her back her property?
No, they didn't ask for it, and they did not want to take possession of her property. I offered to give her property to the police officer because I was unable to contact Ms. Valladares.
Okay. Get a patch for the seat, madam. You cannot establish that, to my satisfaction, that she caused the damage to your car, and you have no right to take her property and hold it hostage. That's all.
Always excuse, you may step out.
I was just going out to have fun with somebody, and because I felt that I could trust her.
When Ms. Valladares exited the car, I seen the tear.
She said that somebody was going to get killed if I didn't pay for her car.
Not true.
We don't have a friendship no more. I thought she was a good friend before, but apparently not.
Christine Hagen is suing her ex-boyfriend, ironworker Brian Smart, for car repair bills, the return of a big screen television, and an assault. Christine says during a night of heavy drinking, Brian beat her up and held her captive.
Your Honor, this is case number 522 on the calendar in the matter of Hagen versus Smart. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Hagen, Mr. Smart used to be your boyfriend. I don't know whether you lived together, but according to your complaint, at the time that you broke up, he assaulted you. And during the process of that assault, he also damaged your car. In addition, it is your claim that you stored a big screen TV at his home, and he won't return it. That's what your lawsuit says. And Mr. Smart says that he bought the TV and he never assaulted you.
Correct.
Okay. When was this breakup, Miss Hagen?
It was December 25th.
And had you been living together at the time?
No, we weren't. I lived with him for about a week in the summer. It was approximately July.
Okay. Now, the altercation that you're talking about, you say, happened on December 25th,
right.
2004. Approximately what time?
It was about 11 o'clock in the evening.
Tell me what happened.
I had spent the night with him for Christmas to help him with his kids and stuff like that during Christmas. We had problems prior to this with his father not liking me, and so he went to his family's house for Christmas Day, and I went to my family's house for Christmas Day. During that time, he said, we'll get back together later on that evening. He'll give me a call. It was about 10. I got a call, but I couldn't hear it. His family lived about a couple hours away drive. I figured he was probably going to stay there. So I went and proceeded to go to his house that night to go ahead and get my tools.
What were you going to get your tools for on Christmas night?
Prior to this, I know it sounds like this is a very long story. Prior to this,
we'll make it a very short story. I mean,
Okay.
what were you going to do with your
my
tools
timing
that
belt
night?
went off in my car. We had tried to fix it prior to this. It didn't function right. I went to go to my family's house and it was running really bad. So when I was waiting for him to get home, he just didn't call or show up or anything. So I figured I'll go ahead and go get my tools from his house.
So you were annoyed with him?
No, no. It just, there were issues that I was the one working on the car too.
Miss Hagan,
I know pretty much about cars, so I was
Miss
going
Hagan,
to do
I
it.
just want to know something. It just doesn't sound right that after spending a day with your family and you're expecting him to call and he doesn't call, you choose that evening at
There was a
11
call.
o'clock at night to go over there to get your tools.
There was a call. My daughter's birthday is the following day after that. That I was trying to make sure I had a car running so I could
Okay,
take my
so
daughter
you went
out.
over to get your tools. Your tools were located in the house?
No, they were underneath. There was like a little thing and had like a little shelter type thing on top
Called
of
a
it.
basement.
Okay. So what happened when you got there to get your tools?
He pulled up. Once he pulled up, he left the door open. He jumped out of the van and just came at me. I mean, literally just came at me and just started swinging at me. And he asked me if I was leaving, and I'm like, I couldn't even talk. He had me grabbed by the jacket and just shaking me extremely hard, and then he just kept throwing me into my car. I hit the back window. I couldn't do anything. I mean, he had me pretty much pinned. So after that, he kept saying everything, you know, he just kind of arguing, telling me how much he hates me, die, I hate you, calling me names and verbally abusing, you know, just language at me. He could smell the alcohol in his breath. He was just completely drunk. I mean, he couldn't even hardly stand up sometimes when he was fighting me, but he was strong enough that no matter if I tried to fight him, the more I fought him, the stronger he got. And there was no way I could get away from him.
I heard that already. Let's move on.
So after that, he grabbed a hold of me and he said, we're going in the house. And I told him I didn't want to go in the house. So he picked me up and he carried me into the house.
Picked you up and carried you in the house?
Yes, he picked me up and carried me into the house.
But I was too drunk to walk.
Mr. Smart. He picked you up and carried you into the house.
Right, and he was slamming me into things. And then he got me into the living room, put me on the couch, and told me to sit. And he jumped me and pushed me over the couch and just started slamming my head into the wall and onto the floor. And I finally got to the point I got free, grabbed him around his neck. I didn't know why. I just told him I loved him. I knew he was going to stop hitting me. I was not strong enough to actually fight him off me anymore. And then he did finally stop hitting me. At that point, the rest of the night, he just stood over me saying, I ain't going nowhere. Leave your tools. You're not going nowhere. And it just continued all night.
So it's top. And you stayed the night? Is that what you're telling me?
I had no way to run. There was nowhere to go.
And according to you, he stayed up all night standing over you.
He did fall asleep for a little bit. And I tried to get up. And I went to the bathroom, went into my purse, and I got my spare set of keys. He did, prior to this, took my keys out of my car. And then he finally just said, that's it. I want you out of here. And I said, fine, let me go.
At what time was this?
This was about 7:30, 7:45 in the morning.
Okay, so what you're telling me is from 11 o'clock at night when he came home, very drunk, hardly able to stand up, until 7:30 in the morning, he was awake.
Oh, he woke up.
Just a sec. Well, did you sleep?
Did I sleep?
That's my question.
No, I did not sleep.
So you didn't sleep at all?
No, I didn't. I was too scared.
So you didn't sleep at all, and he slept?
No, he slept for a little bit, and every time I moved, he would start moving.
What do you mean every time you moved? Were you sleeping together? Shh. Were you sleeping together? And where
Yes,
were you
we were. Yes, we were.
Sleeping together where?
In his bedroom. He brought me into the bedroom after.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me that. First, we started on the couch. Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
Why don't you show her a picture, too?
Shh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Dean Hagan says ex-boyfriend Brian Smart assaulted her during a night of heavy drinking. Christine also claims Brian held her captive for the night.
Mr. Smart, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events, sir.
That evening I came home, it was more like 1:30. When I pull up my van, she's got her car back in my basement, loading up her tools and my tools. I said, I'll come up to her and say, hey, what are you doing? You know, what makes you think you're going to come to my house 1:30 in the morning loading up stuff in my house?
She had to fix a car the next day.
I said, yeah. I was like, well,
go ahead.
Nothing's going to get fixed tonight. What do you think you're doing? I said, we'll deal with this tomorrow. You know, it's late, it's Christmas, this is a holiday. So anyway, I start pulling my stuff back out of her car. I said, you got my stuff in there? I start pulling my stuff out. I pulled her stuff out. She's throwing stuff back in the car. same time, she knocks her window out. At first, her whole problem was that I didn't spend Christmas with her. That was her whole problem and her attitude, because nobody can stand her because of the bull pulled on me, or excuse me, Your Honor, because of the things she's pulled on me. Everybody's confronted her and told her what kind of person she's been. So anyway, I get her calmed down. We go in the house, we lay down, and I would go to sleep.
Did you get undressed?
No.
Did she get undressed?
No. 5:30 in the morning, Your Honor, I woke up.
Why did you go to sleep with your clothes on?
I was tired, and I just wanted to go to bed.
A little bit, had some to drink that day?
Yes, it was Christmas. I was celebrating with my family.
Okay. Next day, what happened?
I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. She's reloading my tools and her tools again. She's sputtering out of the driveway. She can't even get her trunk shut because she's got so much stuff in the back of it. So I'm pulling stuff back out, and she's sputtering out of my driveway. She drives away, comes back a half hour, maybe 45 minutes later with the police.
Okay. You went and called the police. Shh. You went and called the police, correct?
Yeah, I finally got to a point I had a chance to get my key.
All right. Let me read to you in the police report that you've given me what the police say. They said that you contacted them, and you say that you were shoved and punched and pulled by the hair and threw you around the residence throughout the night.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hagan refused medical attention and treatment and appeared to be in no distress. Ms. Hagan's hair, makeup appeared to be neat, and there was no physical evidence to support her allegations. How do you explain the fact, Ms. Hagan, that after all you went through that night, beaten, pummeled, thrown over the couch, slept in your clothes, all of those terrible things, why do you think that the police noted there was no physical evidence to support her allegations?
I tried to go to the police officer at the time. I've actually tried still continually trying to get a hold of the officer why they haven't done anything further than this.
This is his report. This is what he wrote at the time he saw you.
That is his opinion.
This is what he wrote.
I never even got out of my car because I could not keep my car running because my car would die and I was afraid to be too close to lose a resident with it.
Okay, I'm finished with the assault part. Now let's move on to the big screen television set.
During the summer of 2004, I had moved out of my house with my ex-husband. My son and Brian Smart took the big screen TV and brought it over to his house. Well, the kids got really fond of it. They were playing video games and stuff like that. And so I didn't really say anything. And then when I moved into my new place, there just was no room. So I went in and left it at Brian's house. And the kids were having a good time. And
for 6 months?
Yeah. And I asked for it back then, too. And I just figured I'm taking it to court now.
She needed money. She was selling all these things that she got from her ex-husband. She was trying to get like $800 for the TV. I finally talked her down to $600. She really needed the money. Her and her son needed to go get an apartment. I wrote out her a check, which I have right here.
Can I see it, please?
And I believe, Your Honor.
Why did he give you $600?
I never received $600. He has gave me checks in the past that to cash in for him so he can pay off bills and take care of his kids for daycare.
Why would he give you money?
He gave me a lot of money off and on.
No, listen to me. First you said he never gave you a check. Then you said he did give you checks to cash for him that he needed for his children.
Not for the TV.
Well, I just asked you a question, Miss Hagan. Mm-hmm. What did he give you $600 for in June?
I know I had to get the kids shots and stuff like that. He gave me some money.
He's got his own bank account. What does he need you to cash a check for? I'm not satisfied with your explanation with regard to the assault that you allege happened, because Mr. Smart says that there was no assault. The police who observed you at the time you called indicated that there was absolutely no physical evidence whatsoever that they could discern, either on your body or your clothes or your hair, that would support the horrific story you just told me about this horrific assault. In addition, in your claim, you didn't tell me that you had spent the night with him.
I didn't have a choice.
You have a choice. Of course you have a choice. Somebody who was as drunk as you say...
Prior to this,
I'm speaking. Someone who was as drunk as you say, when their head hits the pillow, they're out. And you got up to go to the bath. Don't shake your head. Were you there?
No.
Good. So, quite frankly, Miss Hagan, I don't believe you. And I don't believe that this TV that you left there for 6 months, you all of a sudden want back. I believe that he gave you $600 for it. There was absolutely no other reason, no other credible reason why he would have given you a check in June at about the same time that you were moving out of your place and going into a smaller place. Your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad she was smart enough lady to see through this lady's lies and manipulating everybody.
I know this guy. I've lived with him. I actually left him because the drugs problem was so bad in his house with his kids doing drugs.
You can't keep a constant job. This way for her to go through her life to get more out of society.
I never even got out of my car when the cops even, because I couldn't keep my car running. I was too scared he was going to come back at me and run at me again.
She's this kind of person that she tries to manipulate everybody constantly to get through life.
Is suing her former stepson, 21-year-old assistant manager Parker Bogardus, for unpaid slip fees and damages to her boat.
Your Honor, this case number 533 on the calendar in the matter of Loman versus Bogardus. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Loman, this young man is your stepson.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still married to his father?
No, I'm not.
So he's your former stepson.
Right.
How many years were you married to his father?
7 years.
And how old was he?
He's 21.
How old was he when you were married to his father?
In his teens,
In his
early
teens. According to your complaint, you maintained a nice relationship with him even after you separated from his father.
Yes, ma'am.
And he approached you sometime in April of last year and asked if he could rent a houseboat that you own. You made an agreement that as long as he paid the dock fees, which was sort of like the rent, and he was going to do some work on the houseboat, that you would let him rent it. So you really weren't asking him for any rent for the boat itself, but he was supposed to pay for the dock fees. You claim that for the 9 months that he lived there, from April until December, he did not pay you rent, did not pay the dock fees.
No.
Put your hand down. And when you finally received notice that he wasn't paying the dock fees and asked him to leave, you went to see what the place looked like, and it was a disaster that he damaged
Just a
it.
pigsty.
Okay. Mr. Bogardus says that he, in fact, paid the dock fees every month. He paid them to you, either some in cash and some by check. That's what you say in your answer. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
And that he did a lot of work around the houseboat. He put in moldings and he fixed it up, so he doesn't know what you're complaining about, right?
Yes, that is.
Okay. You did, in fact, move into the houseboat in April of 2004.
Yes, I did.
And you were there until December of 2004.
Yes.
How much were the dock fees?
Like $395.
Well, you shouldn't have to think about it. How much were the dock fees?
$395.
And you paid those each month from
Yes, I did.
April until December.
Till December 1st.
You paid some by check, some cash.
Yes, mostly by cash.
But you paid, according to you, some by
Yeah.
check. So
Yeah.
now I'll see the checks that you gave her for the $395.
I don't have any check stubs from it. I'm real bad on keeping stuff like that with me.
How old are you?
21.
Let me explain something to you. When you have a checking account, and we're talking about something that happened a couple of months ago, and you know you're coming to court, Mr. Bogardus, and you say that you paid some by check, you bring the checks, and you don't say, I'm real bad about it. You're not bad about getting yourself up and trimming your goatee in the morning, are you?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Then you bring the checks if you're coming to court. If you want me to believe you. Otherwise, I think that you're full of baloney. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you work from April until December?
Yes, I did.
Who did you work for?
Subway sandwiches.
And you're paid by check.
Yes, I am.
How did you pay her the cash payments that you made each month?
I withdrawed it from my checking account.
Show me the paperwork where you withdrew $395 each month to give her for the dock fees.
I don't have any of those receipts.
Well, what did you think you were coming here for today, sir? For me to tell you how nice your hair was combed?
No?
Well, what did you think you were coming for?
To defend myself, so
Well, how can you defend yourself without any proof, sir?
Guess I can't.
You guess right. Because if one had the proof, one would bring it. And if you didn't bring it, it's because it doesn't exist. How much were the dock fees?
$395 a month.
$3,555 for the dock fees over the 9 months that he was there, which he didn't pay because he has no proof that he paid it. Now, let's get to the way the boat looked when you reclaimed it. You have photographs?
I do have some photographs.
I'd like to see it.
The first picture is what the boat looked like on the outside. The outside was not messed up like the inside, fortunately.
This isn't a houseboat, it's a boat.
It's
a
no,
sailboat.
it's Sleep 6. It's a sloop.
But it's not a houseboat.
No,
It's not
it's
called a
a
houseboat.
sailboat. The bottom picture is a microwave, and he put a metal rack in it. Now everybody knows that a metal rack.
All right.
Your Honor.
What?
I did not put a metal rack.
Okay.
I'm not that
So
stupid
far, I
to
don't
know
see anything that
you
looks
don't-
so untoward. Do you have any other pictures you want me to, see?
On the next page, the hole that's in the bottom, that's in front of the sink, and then also the generator that was missing. That was so he could do the work on the houseboat.
What do you mean it was missing? I don't understand.
It's no longer there.
What happened to the generator?
I don't know. Someone could have stole it off from where the house was, or the boat was. Why would I steal a stupid little generator?
I also have a price list if you'd like these.
No.
Before Parker moved in, I bought a new stovetop with oven for him to put in. He said he'd replace these things for me. I bought the microwave for him to put in, also the generator. Then I've got all the things that you make it so it converts into things. And then I bought a refrigerator, which was also, when I walked in, the place, it looked like he partied, just had a great old
Ms.
time.
Lohman, let me explain something to you. Boys take a lot longer to mature. This one, even if he's a good kid, and I don't know whether he is or whether he isn't, I assume that if you let him use this expensive piece of property, that you thought he was a good kid. They're all babies. They sort of catch up from the time before they get to Social Security. Sometimes they get smart. But if you rent to a teenager a party boat and expect him not to party, Miss Lohman, you're operating somewhere out there on Pluto.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Tisa Lohman says her former stepson, Parker Bogardus, trashed her boat. Tisa also claims Parker owes for unpaid slip fees.
Okay. So the fact that he left food out and the place reeked, because that's what you say, that if you walked in there and it smelled, it looked like it hadn't been cleaned in months. He's lucky he cleans himself. He's lucky he cleans himself. She did something very nice for you, Mr. Bogardus. She doesn't owe you a thing. She didn't hatch you. She didn't bring you up until you were a teenager. She did something very nice, and you rewarded her by not doing the right thing. And that always comes back to bite you in the behind. And if it doesn't come back today to bite you in the behind, someday you'll do something nice for somebody else, and they will repay your kindness by an unkindness, and you'll know how it feels.
I guess I will when it happens then.
Yeah, I guess you will. Right now, you're going to pay $3,550. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We'll never have a relationship again, which is a bummer.
I'm not a bad guy. I paid what I had to pay.
Well, I loved him like a son.
I guess so. Well, then she's not my real mom.
Kenneth Keaton is suing 26-year-old craftsman Dustin Snow for assaulting him after he caught Dustin picking avocados from his tree.
Yeah, this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Keaton versus Snow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Keaton, according to your complaint, sir, you are a property owner. You own a home.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And on your property, amongst other things, there's an avocado tree.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm a city girl. I didn't even know how avocados came, whether they were hatched or grew on a vine, but now I know. Avocados are generated in trees.
Correct.
According to what I read, Mr. Snow here was stealing your avocados.
That's correct.
Shh. No. You have to be quiet. Was stealing your avocados, and during the course of this altercation, he assaulted you.
Yes, he did.
And injured you.
Correct.
You want to be compensated for that.
That's right.
For that injury. Mr. Snow, while he acknowledges that he was stealing your avocados, sort of, says that you provoked this incident by throwing one of the avocados at his girlfriend who was sitting in the truck. Now, Mr. Snow, I'm going to start with you. You were, in fact, taking avocados from a tree that belonged to Mr. Keaton.
Yes, Your Honor.
I would like you to describe to me how you were doing that.
I actually was driving down the street, and I pulled up under the tree, which actually hangs over the street. I have pictures I could show you as well.
Where are they?
They're right here, Your Honor.
Good. What were you driving down the street in?
A Dodge truck.
Where were you going?
I take care of a mentally disabled person. I was going down to just acquaint with him and take him out to breakfast.
Where does he live?
About 8 houses down from Mr. Keaton.
So you pass this property regularly.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many times have you taken property from Mr. Keaton?
Your Honor, I took it one time prior. I had taken avocados, and
How many did you take?
I'd say around 20, 25.
What did you do with them?
Made guacamole, Your Honor.
Well, you took them because... You took them because you felt that you were entitled to take them because the branches hung over into the street. Is that what you're telling me?
Somewhat, Your Honor. It was really easy for me to stand in the back of my truck. I didn't get out and climb into his tree from his property. I merely parked my truck in a legal manner and stood in the back and reached up and picked the avocados.
Okay. Did you know it was the wrong thing to do, sir?
Yes, I did. Very stupid.
So you knew it was stupid?
I knew it was stupid.
And you knew it was wrong. Now, on what date did this altercation take place, Mr. Snow?
Ma'am, I don't recall.
Mr. Keaton?
I know exactly the date, Your Honor. February 29th, 2004. It was a Sunday morning, about 10:30.
Now, you were going to see this person that you take care of?
Yes, ma'am.
On your way there, you decided to stop by and get some avocados?
It was a rather spontaneous event. I just kind of was driving down the street. I saw him up there, was thinking guacamole. Didn't think it was much of a big deal. I didn't think it would blow up into this and get us out of control as it did.
But you didn't just take 1 or 2 avocados, Mr. Snow, did you?
No, I think I probably had about 20.
Tell me how you got them.
I pulled under the tree and I stood in the back of my truck and I was pulling them off. And I had actually, there was a branch hanging down so low that I climbed up into the tree.
This time you actually...
So yeah.
This time you actually trespassed...
From my truck, I grabbed a branch and I climbed into the tree and I was picking them off and throwing them onto his grass, actually.
Now, Mr. Snow, let's say you're walking along the street and you can pick your hand up and you can pull down an avocado. Still, it belongs to somebody else, but you're taking one. But you didn't take one, you were a pig.
Yes, ma'am, I was a pig.
Oh, yeah, can't even walk up a sweat with this guy. Perfect.
Happens sometime.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so you're home and you hear something going on outside. You walked outside. What did you see, Mr. Keaton?
Well, actually, I didn't hear anything outside. I had a job to do for a friend across town. I was going to cut some tree roots out and remove a stump for this lady.
This is not particularly germane to the case, what you were going to do across town?
No, but it's setting up the point that I'm walking to my truck with my tools to put into the truck. His truck was partially blocking the driveway with his passenger sitting in the front seat. And as I decided, well, I better ask her to move the truck, it started raining avocados from my avocado tree. And that's when I noticed Mr. Snow in the top of the tree, but I'd say at least 16 to 20 foot high into the tree, standing on branches, leaning on others, picking avocados as fast as he could. And at one point, I thought it might be necessary to retrieve his license plate number. By the time I got to the back of the vehicle, he was coming thumping down onto the grass, jumped out of the tree. How far he jumped, I have no idea. I'm surprised he didn't hurt himself. But I indicated that he had not seen or paid attention to my 3 no trespassing signs.
What did you say to him?
I told him to get the hell out of my tree.
Okay.
And if you would like to see some of the signs that I have here that depict what was right in line with the cab, not only of where he parked or where his passenger was sitting, they're clearly marked.
Keep off the tree. Keep going.
And then at that point, he did offer $3 for...
No. So far you told him to get out of your tree, and he did.
Yes,
so
and
let's go back to the conversation. Get out of the tree. You heard him jump down from the tree. Then what happened next?
Well, I think I demanded payment at 50 cents a piece for those avocados.
Exactly. What did you say? If you remember, tell me what you said.
I know I asked him for 50 cents a piece for the avocados. He did bring his wallet out and says, I can offer you $3. That's all I have. I says, you've really picked more than you can afford to pick. And I think maybe this is time where you should meet the sheriff department. Well, he slowly bent down and decided, well, I'm going to pick your effing avocados, old man. What are you going to do about it?
Is that what he said to you?
Absolutely.
Is that what you said to him?
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Seth Keaton says he was assaulted by Dustin Snow after he caught him stealing avocados from his tree.
Go ahead.
There's no way I jumped 20 feet out of the tree.
Okay, so you jumped out of the tree because you knew you were doing something wrong.
I knew I was doing something wrong,
Okay,
so I got down to confront him, and I was very rational and patient with him. I said, okay, I'm sorry about this. I said, well, what do we do here? Because I don't want any trouble. He said, you leave your truck and your girlfriend here, and you walk your down to the bank, and you get me 50 cents for every avocado.
Well, so far he didn't know that you didn't have enough money to pay him.
Well,
so
he didn't know. He didn't know. Yeah, this was.
No, just a second.
About 15 minutes.
Just a second. So you must have taken out your wallet and went to give him some money, and said, "This is all I have."
Yeah, because I didn't want any problems.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And he said, "Well, that's not going to do it. You picked 20 avocados." And then, according to you, he said, "Well, you're going to leave your truck and your girlfriend and you go to the bank and get me some money."
Walk. He wanted me to walk.
Walk. Right, like you were climbing the tree. He wanted you to walk to the bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What happened next? Come on, I'm still waiting for a rebuttal to what he says that you told him that day.
About the effing avocados that he said?
Yes.
I don't recall saying that at all.
What do you recall saying to him?
I recall being very rational and patient with him, saying, "Hey, look, buddy, I don't want any problems." I pulled out my wallet and said, "Look, this is all I have is $3. I'll even leave these. I made a pile of them right there on his property. I set them aside. I said, "Here's your avocados. You know, here's $3. I'm not gonna leave my girlfriend in my truck here, walk however many miles to the bank."
I absolutely agree with you. Go ahead.
And I said, you know, he had my driver's license number. If he needed to get the police going into it, he could have.
So what'd you do next?
After that point, it got kind of stupid. We were sitting there just saying, "Okay, well, you do this, you do this." I said, "I'm not doing it." You know, went back and forth. I said, "Okay, that's enough." I looked at my girl. I said, "Sweetheart, we're going to get out of here." I might have said, "Let's get the F out of here." Might have used a bad word. Walked around to the front of my truck to get into my truck.
By that time, you were in the...
we were on his front lawn. I put the avocados in a pile.
You walked to get into the driver's side of your truck.
Right, I went around the front of my truck.
Did you open the door?
Yes, I just got to open the door.
And where is he?
He is sitting directly point blank in front of the passenger, which is my girlfriend.
Okay, so he's sitting there.
Oh, not sitting, standing.
He's standing.
Right in front of the pile of avocados that I had made for him.
Okay, good. And you had the door open.
And I said, "This is enough. This is stupid. He's got our license plate. He can call the police and make a report if he wants.
Fine.
We're out of here."
And
we're out of here.
Keep going.
And then as soon as I went and opened my door, I hear loud thumps. And I look across, and I kind of look through the console of the car. And there was at least 3 avocados, at least 2, probably 3 thrown. I have dents in my truck. It was point blank at my girlfriend. I have pictures of the dents if you would like to see them.
I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
No. I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend's injury, because that's what you say. You say she was injured.
No, she got hit. We didn't go to the hospital or anything. She wasn't hurt. She was hit, but not hurt.
Okay, keep
going. She kind of put her hands up to defend herself.
So that didn't hit her?
Well, one hit her, yes.
Where? In the hand?
In the arm, yeah.
You believe. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So I went around the front of my truck, and, you know, he was assaulting my girlfriend. He brought violence into the situation.
Just keep going, sir.
So I ran towards him, and I grabbed him by the back of the legs around his knees, pulled his feet out, and just put him on his butt. Now, Your Honor, I'm a very strong man. I could have done a lot of damage to this fella, but I kept my wits about me, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to beat up on this old guy. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want any of this. I wanted to leave.
Why didn't you leave?
Because he's pelting me and my girl with avocados.
Take you 2 seconds, get into the car, close the window, and leave. Take you less time to do that than close the door, walk around the truck, and pull his legs out from under him.
I didn't feel like fleeing, Your Honor.
You didn't feel like not fleeing,
no.
Leaving.
Well, after he's pelting avocados in my truck, that wouldn't be very smart of me.
Oh, it would have been very smart of you.
Why?
Why? I usually don't answer questions, especially questions that are stupid, but I'm going to answer your question, sir, because according to what you just told me, this situation that was instigated by your criminal activity had begun to escalate into violence. And smart people, when they are faced with a situation of escalating violence, extricate themselves from the situation. Do not put themselves into the situation with gusto.
Most people don't, but I did.
Then you're responsible for his injury, sir.
Even though he started with the violence.
You didn't start it, sir. You broke the law. You trespassed on his property. And to be quite honest with you, Mr. Snow, he didn't hit your girlfriend. According to you, according to what you said in your answer, which is different from what you're saying now. You said he threw one through an open passenger window from point blank range and hit my girlfriend.
Yes, he did.
Bull.
Bull?
Bull. That's exactly what I said to you.
As bull? Bull what?
As in baloney. You did the wrong thing, and you're a smart aleck.
No, I admit to doing the wrong thing.
Twice. Not once, but twice. Because aside from committing a crime. It's not a major crime, but you were a pig. Because if you wanted to go to this handicapped person's house that you were taking care of and bring him an avocado, then you take 2 avocados, maybe 3. You don't climb up.
You ever made guacamole, Your Honor? You need several.
Listen to me. I allowed you to ask me one question, which I answered. You only get one opportunity. Why don't you try listening? Your activity that you acknowledge you knew was wrong precipitated an incident, and somebody else was injured. Not her. Not her. And it was a situation that you could have extricated yourself from in a second. You chose not to do that. So you chose to violate this man's property, not once but twice. You chose to stay in the situation because you could have left. No question. You could have left. He had your plate number. You were getting into your car, take off, go to the police, say, listen, I was trespassing on this man's property, stole his property, but then he did what he shouldn't have done. He threw avocados, and my girlfriend had to deflect there because one of them almost came in the window.
It did.
Baloney.
Baloney? You weren't there.
Baloney.
How do you know that?
Your Honor, I have some doctor's reports and bills and also pictures of my injuries. And I also have retained an attorney for the criminal charges that were finally dropped.
How's your arm now?
I do have pain in it from use, like using a weed eater or a hammer to, build my little birdhouses or something like that. And sometimes it turns all white, the skin, because there's so much pain.
Did you ever see the photographs of his injuries, sir?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'd like you to take a look at them. This is what just started with your criminal activity, Mr. Snow.
There was also more taunting by the time I got myself picked up off of the curb that I landed on to cause those type of injuries to my wrist. If he denies about making jaunts or gestures, he continued this taunting at the back of the truck where I was trying to catch my breath.
There's no question in my mind that he's a smart aleck.
No.
No question in my mind. He thought the whole big deal was nothing, should have just let it go. How long have you been with him?
2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor?
Yes.
There's also police reports that go into his past where it was still on probation at the time he did this assault on me, to where he had probably on probation for aggravated assault anyway.
Is that true, Mr. Snow?
No, ma'am.
Were you on probation at the time of this incident?
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge.
What does that mean? Had you been convicted of a crime?
No.
Well, then the answer would be absolutely not. You couldn't have been on probation or parole because you've never been convicted of a crime.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
You have proof to the contrary, Mr. Keaton?
Yes, here's
I'd just like to see it with regard to his credibility.
Department that probably would make a lot more sense to you, and you can find what you're looking for.
Take a look.
There are several pages of different arrests and court cases that's been settled. I'm sorry.
Well, he's got a problem with alcohol. How many DUIs do you have, sir?
1, Your Honor.
Convicted?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you think a DUI is?
Driving under the influence.
It's a crime. And you were sentenced to 3 years probation.
How long ago was that?
Why are you asking me questions? What difference does it make? I said, well, you want probation? You I don't know. I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. Were you ever convicted of a crime? No. Well, then you couldn't have been on probation.
Well, I believe it was 98. That's why I asked you that.
What difference does it make, sir? You're playing with me.
You said 3 years, correct?
You're playing with me, sir. I asked you if you were ever convicted of a crime. You were convicted of battery, misdemeanor battery. 3 years probation, 1 day in jail. Remember that?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't recall the date.
You had arrested as a juvenile too, Mr. Snow?
I don't recall.
There was 1 conviction for DUI, but it covered 3 cases. That sound familiar, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Snow,
yes,
it looks to me, sir, as if for the past couple of years at least, you have remained out of trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter? It was too long a period for you?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I look at this and I see that you had trouble in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and probably as a juvenile, because your juvenile records probably is sealed in this county, but it certainly indicates that you had a history as a juvenile. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years, you do just fine. Maybe it's her influence on you. Who knows? She said you've been together a couple of years, so maybe she's a good influence on you. What would prompt you to do something so stupid, sir?
Guacamole.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
That's what I say.
That's pretty stupid. Then
Very
I would
stupid.
think twice, madam. If his love for vegetables
It's a fruit, Your Honor.
if his love for fruits and vegetables interferes with his good judgment, then I would think twice about hooking my star to his wagon. Checking for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel that the injury and the pain is well beyond the $5,000.
She's a pretty mean woman. She's pretty aggressive.
I depend on those avocados off the tree to help a senior citizen pay his house taxes.
Well, the thing is that he brought the violence to bring, to start it with by throwing them.
I did get loud and obnoxious because I wanted some neighbor to come to my aid.
I was ready to leave and say, hey, here's your stupid avocados. I'm out of here.
When he bent down and started throwing more avocados in the back of the truck, to me that was strong-arm robbery.
Come around, I dumped him on his, That's the way you treat a guy like that.
I'm just happy it's over with. It's the pressure off my mind.
Just some expensive guacamole, that's all.
His landlord, real estate broker Debbie Barker, for a water jug full of money. Debbie claims she has no idea what Brian is talking about.
Your Honor, this is case number 535 on the calendar in the matter of Hawkins versus Barker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Do you see that water jug, Byrd?
Yep.
You have one of those?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
Yeah.
Did you ever put coins in it?
Yep.
Must be a guy thing. My husband's been collecting that stuff. You collect that stuff. You collect that stuff. Do you collect coins in that? I don't know any women who collect coins in that thing.
Neither do I.
They put bills in a bank. Put bills in a bank. Okay. Mr. Hawkins, this is the theory of your case. Mrs. Barker is your landlord.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had some trouble with a window in your house, in your apartment. You called her, and she said, well, my son will come over and take care of it.
Yes.
In order for him to do that at some point, you had to leave the alarm off, which you did do.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came home, this jar that had been, a jar similar to this one, that had been filled with coins that you were collecting over the years that had thousands of dollars in it, was gone.
Yes, ma'am.
And you believe that Mrs. Barker and or her son is responsible for your missing property.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been living in your current apartment, sir?
10 years.
You live alone?
Yes, at one point, yes. Yes, I do.
Have you always lived alone?
No, ma'am.
Who else did you live with?
My son stayed with me for a couple years.
Until when?
Until sometime early August.
And what happened at that time?
Well, he wasn't following directions, and he had reached 18.
So you kicked him out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Since August, has he been back to the house?
No, ma'am.
When did this incident happen with your money jar?
August 26th, ma'am, of 2004.
And what date in August did your son leave?
It was sometime around the beginning, like maybe about the 5th or the 6th, somewhere in there.
When he left on the 5th of August, did you change the locks?
No, ma'am.
You found a broken window. On what date?
August 20th.
Is that the date you notified Miss Barker?
Yes, ma'am.
What date were you told by Mrs. Barker's son that he would fix it?
He came over on August 20th. He said that he was leaving town and he wouldn't be back until Sunday, so he couldn't do anything about it.
Okay. So what did you do?
Well, I said, okay. I was actually leaving town also.
Now, you came back when?
I came back on the 22nd, that Sunday.
Your money jar was still there?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you keep it?
I kept it in a corner. It's like a corner in my living room.
When did you find it was missing?
On August 26th, when I arrived home from work.
When did Mr. Williams fix your window?
He fixed it on August 26th.
Stand up next to your mother, please. Is that correct, Mr. Williams?
Yes, that is correct.
When you got to his house on August 26th, you had told him to leave the alarm off because you had to get in to fix the window.
That's correct, yes.
And you went in on the 26th. Approximately what time?
I'd say late morning, between, I'd say 10 and 12. My recollection is a little blurry at the moment.
Tell me what happened when you went in to the apartment.
The night before, I had went by the unit, because I live in the same complex, 3 doors down, at which time I took duct tape, and I duct taped it from the outside only, because I didn't have clearance to get into the unit. So I pulled the screen off, and I put duct tape on it. and secured it until the next morning because I didn't want to pull it out then and leave it overnight, and that would be very unsafe. So the next morning when I came back, late morning, on the 26th, I observed the tape off the window, and the bottom portion of the glass was laying on the deck in front of the window with the tape gone and the screen back on the window. And so when I approached the door to open it, I was puzzled initially, and so I opened the door, and I recollect that the deadbolt was not locked, just the bottom lock, and I entered the unit, and I was in there for 8 to 10 minutes, took the window out, took it to the glass shop. They told me it'd be about 2 to 3 hours it would take, and come back later. And before I left, I secured the window back up by drawing the blinds, putting the screen back on, and exiting the unit and leaving it the way as if when I entered it, with just the bottom lock locked.
Okay. You don't know anything about his money jar?
Never saw. Like I said, I was in there for 8 minutes. As long as it took me to walk in the door, assess it, pull the window out, put the screen back in, lock the place up, and take it to the shop.
Do you have any criminal record, Mr. Williams?
No, I don't.
That was a tenuous no, I don't.
Well, I do actually. But I believe that's irrelevant.
I had assumed that you didn't.
Right.
I had assumed that you didn't, but now that you tell me that you did, do you have a conviction for anything?
I don't recall what my conviction was. It was years ago, but I don't think that's irrelevant. 6, 7 years ago.
How old are you now?
33.
Since then, nothing?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, that's an honest answer.
Right.
Good. Now, Mr. Hawkins, you're going to have to explain to me what proof you have that Mr. Williams and or his mother, who was the manager of the property, should be responsible for the loss of your money jar.
Like I said, he told me to turn off the alarm. The other thing is...
well, he had to turn off the alarm or give him the code.
Yes.
Because otherwise he couldn't get into your unit.
Exactly.
You could have stayed home from work.
Yes.
And said, I'm not turning off the alarm, I'm going to stay home from work, and I'll let you in.
Well, on Monday and Tuesday, when I was home, because he actually told me on Monday that he was coming to fix the window, and I didn't hear anything from him. So I went to work, and he called me on my cell phone at work on Wednesday.
So you spoke to him?
Yes.
You could have said, I'm not going to be home. Wait until next Monday. I'll take the day off, and you can come and fix the window. You didn't have to turn the alarm off.
No, you're right.
Who was this?
This is my witness, Jim. We had to move the sparkless bottle because he cleans carpets, and just saying that it had to take a big person to actually move that.
I believe that it had to take a big person. So he's your friend?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have other friends in the building?
No, ma'am. He doesn't live in my building.
Do you have any friends in the building after 10 years?
No.
None? You have no friends at all?
Yes, I have friends. Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. His landlord, Debbie Barker, owes for a water jug full of money that was stolen from his apartment. Debbie says Brian should talk to his son.
Now let's get to your son. Your son left at around the same time. Did you ask your son about your money jar?
Yes, I did.
Why would you ask your son about your money jar?
Because I don't have any enemies or anything. So I went to his mom's house where he was staying.
When did you go to his mom's house?
I went on Saturday. Well, I called him on Friday, on the day that it happened.
And he said?
He said no, and he wouldn't do anything like that.
But you thought he might?
I just felt that, there was tension between me and my son when he left. But
and you knew that he knew it was there?
Yes.
And it's possible that it was your son?
It's possible.
It's possible it was Mr. Williams?
Yeah, it's possible.
But Mr. Williams would really have to be pretty stupid to steal your money, knowing that he lives in the complex and knowing that you know that he was going to be in your apartment that day.
Yes, ma'am.
So he'd have to be a fool. He doesn't strike me as being a fool. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to suggest to you that you got to keep your money in a bank. And if you have $3,000 worth of coins, keeping them in your apartment is not a very smart thing to do. Now, I assume you reported this matter to the police.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you reported the matter to the police, you indicated that the perpetrator of this crime was unknown to you.
Yes.
It's unknown to me as well. So what you're suggesting is that I hold the defendants responsible because they were in some way negligent.
Yes.
But I don't find that they were negligent, sir. I think that you had certain options, and one of your options was that you could have said, I will be home. We will fix a time when you can come in and fix the window, but I'm not turning the alarm off for several hours because you're not going to be here for a period of time when the alarm is off because you've got to take the window to have it fixed.
But isn't it as a manager or on, you take some responsibility because, when you enter someone's apartment, you're liable for like any wrongdoing.
He's not liable for someone else's wrongdoing,
Yeah.
sir. He's not, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Williams nor his mother are responsible if your son stole your money jar.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Right.
But
And we don't know whether that's true or not, whether it was your son, maybe it was your son and some of his friends, maybe it was some of your son's friends. You don't know that.
Can I say an interesting fact? When he returned home later that evening, he was upset, and he asked me how come I didn't deadbolt the lock. And it was really puzzling to me because I told him the policy usually with a manager is usually when you enter a unit, you leave it the same way when you exit. So when I entered the unit, that deadbolt was not locked. And he said, oh, I always deadbolted. And I said, Brian, the deadbolt was not locked. And that's the reason why I didn't deadbolt it when I exited after completion of the job. Then he furthermore asked me if I played his Nintendo game. And he said, yeah, the Nintendo game was out, the remotes were out, it was left on, there was a game in it.
Is that right, sir?
No, it was actually pulled out of the, like I have an entertainment stand, and it was actually pulled out with some other items.
So you mean the person who came in that stole your money jar also played your Nintendo?
Well, they were intending to take it.
Either they were intending to take it or they were playing with it. Was there a game in it?
No, there was no game in it.
He told me there was a game in it that wasn't in it prior. And I remember specifically him saying that the remotes were out and the power on the unit was on. And
Is that
he
right,
left
sir?
it off.
The power was on because they pulled it out. They pulled it out. That and some other things were packed up right in front of the Nintendo.
You mean some other things that somebody was trying to burglarize?
Well, it was my PlayStation, some games, and some DVDs.
Mr. Williams certainly had more than enough time if he wanted to take that property in order to do it, right?
I guess that they forgot it.
No. No. I would look elsewhere, Mr. Hawkins. I don't think these people are responsible for your loss at all.
May I make a comment? When Brian initially made the phone call to me to let me know that the window was broken, I questioned how it got broken.
No, ma'am.
And he informed me he thought it was his son trying to break in.
No, ma'am. No,
that
I
his
didn't.
son had tried several times in the past.
No, ma'am.
And I said, well, gee, Brian, if you or your son broke the window, I'm not responsible to repair it. That's something that you need to repair. And then he changed his whole story that he wasn't sure if it was his son or not.
No, ma'am. That's not true.
Well,
That's
some of
not
your
true.
conduct, Mr. Hawkins, afterwards suggests that she may be telling the truth, because certainly if my house was burglarized, I would not call one of my children to find out if they were the perpetrators.
No,
Listen to me
I-
very carefully. If my house was missing items and it was clear that my house was the subject of a burglary, the most remote thing in my mind would be that I would ask one of my children if they came in and took my property. That wouldn't even enter my mind, sir. But it entered your mind. Now, you not only called your son, according to you, you went to his mother's house
Yes, ma'am.
to look for the property. I wouldn't think, would not dawn on me that that's the place that I would
Well,
look.
that was-
So you thought about it. So what Miss Barker says when she says to me that you thought your son may have tried to get into the house is supported by what you did after you found your house burglarized.
No, ma'am. That,
Well, it is, sir.
That wasn't how
That's what I find, sir. They are not responsible. Look elsewhere. Case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your
Parties
Thank
are
you.
excused. You may step out.
I was taken aback because, prior to this, there was a friendship, kind of, neighborly friendship.
I really don't have our friend. She's been a nice owner,
And I was taken aback by it.
her son. I hope that they didn't take it personal.
Brian's been there. I've owned the building for 8 years, and he's been a great tenant. And he had some problems with his son. Sometimes we all have problems with our children.
I just hope that things can remain the way that they were, because they have been good people to me.
Judge Judy is the best. She's very fair.
16-year-old Erica Mandair and her mother, Deborah Segura, are suing Lavinia Kennard, her daughter, 15-year-old Brittany Williams, and her nephew, 17-year-old Cornell Martin, for an assault. Erica says the defendants beat her up during an argument at a mall.
Now it's case number 210 on the calendar in the matter of Segura Mandair versus Kennard Williams Martin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
What's your first name?
Erica
And your last name?
Mandair.
You're a mother, Miss Segura, is that right? Now, Miss Segura, you're really suing on behalf of your daughter because you claim that your daughter was assaulted by these two people who were being supervised by Mrs. Kennard.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mrs. Kennard's daughter, and this is Mrs. Kennard's nephew. According to your complaint, you dropped your daughter off at a mall. She was meeting up with her friend, cousin Jennifer. Got a call about an hour later, crying, indicating that she had been assaulted. But you really don't know anything about this matter yourself. It's your daughter. So why don't you have a seat for a moment? Erica, on what date did you go to the mall?
June 11, 2004.
And it was just you and your cousin Jennifer who were planning to meet that day?
Yes.
Tell me what happened with Miss Kennard's daughter and nephew.
We had been in the store and we went over to look at the shoe section. Brittany and Cornell were sitting down and they looked at us and started laughing. They were talking about my makeup. Brittany said, "Wow, look at her makeup, she looks like a clown." And so I was like, I get that all the time, people talking about my makeup. And so we walked to go pay for our things at the counter. And the witness, the one that's sitting down.
This young lady?
Yes. She was up there and they walked up to her and told her about me. And then she looked at me and started laughing. I was like, okay, I still didn't think anything of it. So I paid for my stuff and we were walking out. And then all of a sudden I hear the mother, she started laughing really loud. And I looked back and she said, "What are you looking at?" And so I was like, why?
Make sure you tell me exactly what you said, because even if you said something disrespectful at the time, I want to hear the truth. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I said, "Why do you guys have to talk about me? We didn't do anything to you." And then she started getting really loud, just their hands up and everything. And then they started walking to us, and me and my cousin we walked back.
Walk back towards them.
Walked back towards the counter, back into the store.
Why didn't you just keep going?
Because both times I didn't think anything of it, and there were so many people in the store, and I was like, why? We didn't do anything. Why are we being humiliated? So,
you're right.
So I was like, no, I have to say something.
So what'd you say?
I told him, I said, why are you talking about us? We didn't do anything to you.
What was wrong with her makeup that day?
I didn't say nothing about it. I didn't say anything about it.
What did you say?
No, because me and him was having a conversation.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What were you and Cornell having a conversation about?
A movie, Medea.
A movie, Medea?
Yes.
What was the movie Medea about? Even she can't keep her mouth straight. Look at her. She can't stop from smiling. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right?
No.
Why do you think all this problem started, young lady?
I don't know. Me and my cousin were just having a conversation about the movie, and I guess she thought we was talking about her.
And what did she say to you?
So she turned around and I guess she asked her cousin if is that a he, she, is that a girl or a boy? And Cornell, my cousin, turned around and said, "What happened?" She was like, "I wasn't talking to you." So me and him went back to our conversation, and I guess they walked to the counter, and that's when my mom came over there. My mom walked over there, and we walked over there.
Oh, walked over where?
To the counter. And as we was walking to the counter, they was leaving, and they turned around, and they mugged my mom. My mom asked them.
What do you mean they mugged your mom?
Like, gave her a crazy look.
Show me how they did that.
She was like, they just turned around and looked at her like this.
You mean like this? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. So
and
they turned around and gave your mom a look.
And my mom was like, "Do you guys have a problem?" And she was like, "Well, yo, she's over there talking about it." My mom said, "What he, she? This is my daughter and my nephew." So she said, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "Well, they over there talking about us and we ain't saying nothing to them." My mom was like...
So this young lady said, "Why are they talking about us? We didn't say anything to them." That's what she said to your mom. Is that right?
Yes.
What happened next?
So after she asked her, my mom was like, "Well, nobody was talking about you. They was talking to each other and they was talking to me. So where did that come in that they was talking about you?" She was like, "Well, they was over there laughing and giggling and looking at me and laughing." And my mom said, "What was they talking about then?" She was like, "I assume they was talking about my makeup." And my mom was like, "Well, what's wrong with it? There must be a problem with it if they was talking about you." And the girl was like, "Well, I don't know." And that's when she started getting physical, and she started...
Tell me how she got physical.
Well, she started cussing. She was like...
She started cursing?
Yeah.
The girl, she started cursing. What did she say?
Well, she was like, "This effing over there talking about me and my cousin about our makeup." And my mom was like, "What are you talking about?" And she just kept cussing. My mom was like, "Well, do you talk to your mother with that kind of mouth?" And the girl was like, "No." She was like, "Well, if I was your mother, I would have been talk to you about that mouth." And the girl was like, "Well, you're not my mother." And she called my mom a B. And that's when we walked in. My mom told us to stand back because there's no problem.
Go ahead.
So the girl She was like, well, yo, he, and that's when they walked towards us. And me and my cousin was standing next to my mom. The girl had walked towards us, and she was like, well, y'all was over there talking about me and my maker, and we was like, no, we wasn't. And then the girl came up to my cousin, and the girl had pushed my cousin. She had given like...
Just a second. Who pushed whom?
The witness over there.
This young lady pushed somebody?
She pushed him. She gave him like a 2-finger little tap.
A 2-finger little tap?
Like when you go like this, she did
Oh,
it twice.
okay. And then what happened after she gave him a 2-finger little tap?
She was like, well, I guess you're going to hit a girl. And he was like, no, I'm not even tripping off of you. And she was like, whatever. And then that's when she had punched my cousin in the stomach. And then that's when she had rushed him. And the other girl, Erica, I guess, she had jumped in. That's when I had jumped in and tried to pull one of them off. And then that's when the girl got up and swung at me. And that's when we all started to fight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. The man there says Lavinia Kennard, Brittany Williams, and Cornell Martin owe for an assault at a mall. Erica says Brittany and Cornell were making fun of her makeup.
Up here. Did you punch him?
No.
Did you 2-finger him?
No.
Did you put your hands on him at all?
I put my hand like this because I knew he was going to come at me, and I didn't even touch him.
Why was he going to come at you?
Because I remember he was in my face, and I was like, you're going to hit a girl, and he goes, I don't care what you are. And then he just pushed me, and I fell to the ground.
Did you say that, Cornell?
No.
Well, what did you say?
She gave me the 2-finger push, and I said, don't put your hands on me. And she said, oh, well, you a dude, you going to put your hands on the female? I was like, no, I'm not going to put my hand on the female. And then she pushed me back again, and then that's when she socked me in my stomach.
How did she do that?
She took her 2 fingers and pushed me back like this, and then she took her hand and then pushed me out of the way. And then at the time I was moving back, she socked me.
With her fist?
Yes.
Were you winded?
Yes.
Did you fall down?
No.
What happened next?
I stumbled. And then when I stumbled, the other girl rushed me into the clothes.
Where was Jennifer at the time that Erica rushed you into the clothes?
Fighting with Brittany.
Was Jennifer on the ground?
Yes.
How did Jennifer get on the ground?
Because they was fighting.
How did she get there is my question.
She got knocked to the ground.
By whom?
Brittany.
By Brittany?
Yes.
Where was your mother?
She wasn't paying attention at the time. She was paying attention, but she didn't notice the fight until after she tried to pull us off. But she couldn't break it up.
Stand up. When you came to get your daughter at the mall, did you take her for any treatment?
Yes. She was taken by ambulance to the local hospital.
Can I see the medical report? Any photographs taken of her face?
Yes, there is.
Can I see, please? Who punched you in the face?
It was Kennard and Brittany.
Why'd you punch her in the face? Why did you punch her in the face?
I didn't punch her in the face.
Who punched her in the face? Who punched her in the face?
I don't know. We was fighting, so somebody's gonna obviously. She got hit in the face as we was fighting.
Well, I'm asking you, who punched her in the face?
We don't know because we was all fighting at once, and it was a big old bunch.
Well, where are your photographs of your injuries?
I didn't have any.
We don't have none. We don't have injuries.
You want to say anything?
Yes, Your Honor.
First, I have a couple of questions for you. You take 3 children. These 3 children you took to the mall?
Yes.
Why aren't you properly supervising them?
Your Honor, they was properly supervised.
No, they weren't. They were properly supervised. They wouldn't have been involved in an assault.
The way the little girl's saying it is not the way she was performing. The performance of these 2 young girls, I had these 2 sitting on the bench. I had my 11-year-old standing in line while I looked at a purse.
They were on their way out the store.
They was not, Your Honor. They lying.
Really? Where were they when this took place?
When they was at the cash register paying for their stuff. As I'm walking up to it, they turns around. This is the cash register. They turns around, both of them, and mad dogs me as the mother.
What's mad dog? What does that mean?
That means like they looking at you, they staring you up and down, just, you know, Like, you know, they're going to beat you up. That's how the looks both of them gave me. So when I walk up, I look over my shoulder, I look around me. I'm like, what? You tell them MFs to he-she's quit talking about me. She's in my face. I'm at the register. I'm walking up now to this.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, they talk about Jesus Christ. I mean, so what did they say about you? She couldn't tell me what they said about them. She was abusing me like I was in it. She cussing at me. She talking crap to me and disrespecting me. And I asked her, do your mother allow you to talk like that to an adult? She said, I could say what I want to say. I said, if I was your mother, I would whoop you because you disrespectful right now. She said, I ain't disrespectful. Excuse my language. And she called me a B. And so that's when them two came up. And they said, don't talk about my mother and my auntie. So I pushed them back. And next thing I know, the young girl over there, she's flinching at him. She's standing at his face like, what? You know, she flinching. And then she took him and pushed his shoulders. And then she took her fist and she hit him. He fell back into the clothes. By the time I'm over here to get these two breaking up, the other two start fighting. So when I get through breaking these, get ready to break these, he come around to get her off of the other one. They never stopped. They just kept going at it with him. So when I finally got them both apart, she had a purse laying there with money. I picked her purse and her money up and gave it to the lady at the register. She said she's going to call the police. I said, we're going to stand here till you call the police until they come.
Let me see the police report, please.
And, Your Honor, I couldn't even get one. They told me I wasn't allowed to get a police report if there was minors.
Your Honor, okay.
Well, Ms. Kennard, there is a witness in the store who told the police that there was a fight. And this witness, not you, not any one of these people, but this witness who was just in the store, the witness said she heard you tell your daughter and your nephew to fight them.
Your Honor, I didn't do that.
Okay.
That's the honest God truth.
Okay. Would be a fair statement that at the end of the police investigation, after speaking to witnesses and you, that the two of you were cited for fighting in a public place. Is that correct?
Yes. No, they had cited all four of them, Your Honor.
You two girls cited? Mm-hmm. But what happened with those cases?
We went to a aware witness.
Anger management is what?
See, they didn't get anger management. They got a aware witness where they had to go for 2 hours, and I sit there with them and pay $10 and letting them know they can't fight in public and letting them know how it is.
And what did you have to do?
An anger management class.
Same thing?
I didn't. She
didn't get anything.
Why do you think that is?
Why what?
Well, she had to go to an anger management program.
She didn't go to it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Fighting in public, anger management, whatever it is.
All
And
right.
he did. And Jennifer did. But not her.
My thing was, to me, Your Honor, the girls started it first. So they hit first. They could have paid for their
No, she didn't hit anybody first.
Yeah, they both
No.
hit.
That's not true. She didn't hit anybody first. Jennifer may have put her hands on Cornell. She didn't hit anybody first.
She hit her. Her and Brittany fought.
I don't believe she hit somebody first. You didn't handle... Listen, their mother wasn't there.
She came in like them fighting, cussing me out, calling me B. She ran up in there talking about who did it, who effing did this stuff. I'm going to kick their butt. Her husband, her sister, her brothers, they all was threatening us.
You're not following me.
Well, you said they didn't hit you, on, and I was there.
said the mother wasn't there when this incident happened. You were the responsible adult.
Yes,
It was your job to ensure that if one of these girls looked at you and they looked at you, as you said, with attitude, that you just say, forget about it. Nothing. Well, you told me the story now. I listened to your
story. It wasn't so
story.
much of them looking at me attitude, Your Honor. They was being disrespectful. They was standing there mugging me.
You're not getting it. You're the grown-up. If they're not acting appropriately, and I believe that they weren't.
It wasn't them even saying anything. The little young one said to her sister and her cousin, she said, they eyebrow. We found out at the end. The police, everybody found out at the end that the 11-year-old, the one who said, look at her eyebrows, Brittany.
Just a second. So let me ask you this question. Now you're getting down to it.
Yeah, because she's
Stop
the last
speaking!
one.
So it wasn't your older daughter, it was your younger daughter.
Yes. The younger daughter made a comment, Your Honor, about, but they didn't even hear the comment.
Oh, listen. They should have sent you to some sort of parenting class. You're the one responsible to take care of the children who are in your care, madam.
Well, I thought I was doing that.
Well, you weren't. Because when you said nothing happened, they weren't talking about her makeup. They weren't saying anything. That's what I'm speaking. So it wasn't them. It was Miss Smarty Pants. But they had a legitimate complaint because she was being mocked by somebody in your charge. So instead of not confronting it, instead of not removing actions that could possibly result in an assault, you decided to confront them. And I'm telling you, you didn't do...
Honor, do you know when we learned about this little girl said something? After these kids then fought and everything was over with, then she spoke up and said, Mama, I'm the one who said something about her eyebrow. Everything was done. They already had the fight. And this one told it.
She's not getting it.
I guess I'm not then, Your Honor.
You're not getting it.
Because I'm a very good mother.
You're not getting it. When you started to tell me your story, you and your daughter and your nephew, you all conveniently left out the fact that these young ladies, you can sit down, Jennifer, that this young lady told me the truth when she said that somebody was making fun of her makeup and laughing. And just because it was this daughter instead of this daughter, that doesn't make it any less true. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do the smart thing. If you're dealing with a situation where it's getting clearly out of control, you just pay for your stuff and move out of the store. You understand? Mm-hmm. They behaved inappropriately. The mother behaved inappropriately. Smarty Pants behaved inappropriately. They behaved inappropriately. So did you. You just should have left. But you were injured. Mm. She was responsible to take care of her children. All of her children, not just the older one, the younger one too. And you didn't do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Why does that excuse you? You may step out.
It's not the fact it was about my makeup, it's just the fact that I don't want, you're not supposed to do that.
I say nothing about it.
The way she disrespected and talked to me, I told her if I was your mother, I would whoop you.
I don't allow my children to be disrespectful.
I'm not going to just go up and hit a guy.
She man enough to hit me, so she man enough to hit back.
People talk about everybody all day long. You can't go around approaching everybody who's saying something about you.
This was a boy hitting my daughter, number one. And number two, it was violence and it was hitting. You don't do that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sisson versus Chapman. Step forward, please.
Assembly worker Linda Sisson is suing her son's ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old banquet server Tessa Chapman, for the cost to fix her Chevy Cavalier. Tessa says the only reason she drove the vehicle was because Linda's son was drunk.
Ms. Sisson, the defendant is your son's former girlfriend.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she drove your car and had an accident.
Yes.
You want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
When did the accident take place?
April 3rd, 2004 at 1 a.m.
You weren't there, is that right?
We were sleeping.
So you didn't see what happened?
No, I did not.
Okay, Miss Chapman, and you say you're not responsible. Let me hear about it.
George Anderson and I were hanging out at his mother, Linda Sisson's house.
George Anderson is your son?
Yes. A few hours later, George had asked me to drive to the store with him. While we were driving to the store, I realized he was intoxicated.
That is not true.
Shh, listen to me. I don't want you to say anything. You weren't there. I've asked her a question. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. So you and the plaintiff's son were hanging around at her home.
Right.
When had you arrived there?
Probably at like 10 o'clock around.
10 in the morning or 10 at night?
10 at night.
And where had you been before that?
My house.
So you drove over to his house?
No, he came and picked me up.
In whose car?
His mother's car.
When he came to pick you up and you got into the car, was he intoxicated?
No.
How long did it take you to get back to his house?
About 10 minutes.
And you went directly to his house?
Yes.
At what time did you go to the store?
Like 12:30.
Between 10 p.m. or 10:10 p.m. when you arrived back at George's house and 12:30 in the morning, what were you doing?
We were watching TV and we had a couple beers each.
Where did you get the beers from?
His house.
So each of you had a couple of beers. Is that right?
Yes.
And then about 12:30, who decided to go to the store?
George.
You say in your answer that the reason you were driving was because George was drunk.
Yes.
Not according to what you tell me now. According to what you tell me now, the two of you had a couple of beers.
He must have been.
I.e. what?
There was another girl there named Stacy, and they were off in another room for a little while also, so they could have been drinking without me knowing.
They could have been, and I could have been 5'6", but I'm not. So when he asked you to go to the store, and you said yes, you knew that you had been drinking.
Yeah.
And you knew that he had been drinking.
Yep.
At what point did you drive?
On the way home, back to her house.
Miss Sessman, I don't want you to say no unless you were there. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me about the accident.
We were driving back. The ride was fine on the way back, and we got back to the house, and I went to pull into the driveway. And in their driveway, there's a little metal pipe that sticks up, and you can't really run it over, so I was backing out to straighten up the car to pull into the driveway, and the cars on the road were parked very close to the driveway, and I accidentally scraped the other car.
Now, what makes you think you're not responsible?
Because I feel as though she's suing me because I broke up with her son.
That's possible, that she decided to sue you now because you broke up with her son. There was no longer a reason for her not to pursue this remedy. My question to you is, why don't you think you're responsible? That's her motive for suing you.
Because George was drunk and I wasn't drunk on the way back from the store, driving back.
Well, Miss Chapman, you had certainly, according to you, been drinking that night.
Yeah, but 2 beers in a course of 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
And that's all you told me you saw George drink.
But he was driving very recklessly on the way to the store.
Then you can get out of the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this?
That's my mother.
Do you live at home with your mother?
No, I live at my own house.
Do you get along with your mother?
Yes, but
Does she live in the same town that
Nope.
you do? Do you have other people that you know in town?
Mm-hmm.
So that if he was driving, according to you, recklessly on his way to the store, then you say, George, I'm not going to get back into the car with you. And you call a taxi to take you home. But if you get behind the wheel of her car and you have an accident and you've had alcohol that night, you're responsible. And the fact that she may not have pursued this matter while you were with her son, and now you're no longer with him because where is he? Drug rehab, he's in jail, where is he?
He's in rehab, getting treatment.
Good, I'm glad. How much was the damage to your car?
It was $1,300, which I had to pay a $500 deductible. And when I found out about the accident, the doorbell rang at 7 o'clock in the morning. And
I don't care how you found out about the accident.
Well, she admitted to me, Tessa admitted to me that morning when I woke them up to find out what happened to my car, and she apologized because my son came out and told Tessa to tell me that he's not taking the rap because he didn't do the damages, and she did
No, he's a prince.
And she did the damages.
He's a prince. How old is your son?
22.
How long has he had a drug problem?
Maybe about three weeks prior.
You're in denial, madam. What kind of work was he doing?
He was in and out of jobs.
Had he been arrested previous to his current rehab?
Yes.
For what?
For a stolen vehicle.
Yes. What else?
False identification.
What else?
Counterfeit money.
She doesn't get a free ride. She should not have gotten in the car with him. She should not have been driving that night. She is responsible for your out-of-pocket expenses. And if I had a kid who was in this much trouble, I would have taken my car keys and locked them up in a safe to make sure that he didn't use them. Right?
Yes.
Good. So, you got to pay her deductible, Miss Chapman. It's your responsibility. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
George is in a lot of trouble with rehab and jail and all that.
She told my son, I'm not going to pay your mother anything.
I told her to stay away from him.
I just broke all ties with him.
She's a much better person than that.
It's responsibility. She should have never taken my car.
She really has a kind of a bleeding heart personality, and she tried to help him out.
I'm going to forget about everything.
He's a bad news person.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Farrell versus Monaco. Step forward, please.
Retired engineer Tom Farrell is suing his daughter's former guardian, property manager Victoria Monaco for the return of money given towards child care expenses. Victoria is countersuing for unpaid rent and additional expenses.
Mr. and Mrs. Farrell, I assume this is your daughter. Tell me your first name.
Marcy.
Marcy. Stand up next to your folks. Marcy, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
How old are you?
15.
Well, Marcy was going through a difficult teenage period. And according to your complaint, after several failed attempts at other arrangements, you found the defendant who indicated she was prepared to let Marcy live with her. The arrangement was that she would be paid $50 a week. You advanced her $1,000. Marcy stayed how many weeks?
I stayed about 2 weeks before I went to a residence.
To a residence?
Residence, well, it's a part of my program.
Stayed 2 weeks, and you want the rest of your money back. That's what the case is about. Yeah. Ms. Monaco says that, yes, you advanced her the $1,000, but during the time that your daughter was with her for that 2-week period, she spent a heck of a lot more than $1,000, and she's counterclaiming for $1,600 for a variety of things. How did you find Miss Monaco?
We met about 4 years ago. We lived in the same area. Our children went to school together.
This is her son?
Yes.
So the kids were friendly?
Correct.
Okay.
So when the time came, Marcy, I think, initially spoke with the defendant about staying with her. They'd always gotten along well together. We'd always gotten along well together. I met with Vicki. We talked about it. We agreed on $50 a week for housing and food. She indicated that was more than enough. My wife and I would pay for all other expenses, schooling, education, transportation, medical, whatever else needed. That was only for food and housing. After the 2-week period, things weren't working out. Marcy had to go to residence, which is part of the EDIP program that she's in through the juvenile justice system. So when it was time to come back, the defendant was in the arrangements of moving her household, looking for a new place to live. She said at the time that the reason for that was she had an abusive relationship with her boyfriend, trying to get away from him, needed some front money to get on with her life. So we were willing to advance her the $1,000 so that she could get a head start, get out of there and all that. The 2 weeks that Marcy was there, we'd already paid her that $100 for. We were even at that point in time.
So you'd already given her the $100 for the 2 weeks, and
that
this was $1,000, an advance of $1,000.
Was an advance for, after she got moved into the new home, everything was settled there. She was going to let us know when that was. We were going to get Marcy moved back over there and start life as we hoped would be a good situation. And then we never heard from her.
Now, they paid you the $100 pursuant to agreement, $50 a week for the time that Marcy was with you, and they advanced you $1,000. Why shouldn't they get it back?
Your Honor, they did not give me $100. And the $1,000 that he did give me that I received was for first, last, and security to move into a home. So Tom and Barbara have not given me anything towards taking care of Marcy.
Just 1 second. How many people moved into your new home?
Well, there was myself, my son Marco, and my boyfriend. He would come and go.
Well, then why in the world would they? You have 2 adults and your child. Why in the world are they responsible for your first, last, and security?
They're not responsible for all of it.
So why don't you give them their $1,000 back?
Your Honor, they were going to pay for half of it. What? It cost $2,700 to move in.
Shh, listen to me. Why would they pay anything towards your moving in to a new residence with yourself, a very tall, able-bodied boyfriend who wears a lot of gold jewelry, and your 13-year-old son? Miss Monaco, you explain that to me.
Marcy was with me in the home.
So what?
Well, he agreed to pay and help me in a better home, which he states right in here.
Well, you show me where he agreed to pay for
well, I can show
first,
you where...
last, and security.
No, it's not stated like that. It's stated for a better home.
Let me see it. This says, after a week of negotiating, we met at Wachovia Bank on 5504 and signed a contract for a prepayment of child care for our daughter so the defendant could move into a better home. So what he's saying here is he agreed to give you $1,000 advance because you needed cash to move into this new home And that money would be offset for the $50 a week that he had agreed to give you for the support of his daughter. You get it? That's what this says, if that's what you're showing me. Don't go like this. That's what it says. Now, you have a contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
We also have a copy of the $100 check.
No,
Oh, we didn't have that. Oh.
Okay.
You need to get that other stuff.
This says Vicky's previous boyfriend, that's him, Ramon, shall be excluded from contact with Vicky or her family by means of a restraining order while Marcy is in her custody. That's what you signed. If Marcy is away from Vicky's custody or residence for any reason for periods of a week or more, the balance of the child care prepayment must be returned to the Farrells at the rate of $50 a week. Don't you read?
Yes, I do.
Well, explain that to me.
I'm trying to explain to you, Your Honor, that $1,000 was for a better home.
Listen to me.
Okay.
That's not what this says. It's signed, it's notarized by a notary public. That's not what your contract says.
Isn't my housing part of child care? Wouldn't my housing be part of child care?
Just a minute. Doesn't she understand the rules? The rules are I ask the questions, you answer the questions.
Okay.
Madam, you signed it. So you must know more about Ramon than I do.
At that time, I was under a lot of pressure, and I knew that I wasn't going to put a restraining order. I don't believe it was so mandatory that that be done at that time because Marcy was in the home with Ramon 3 weeks prior to Tom and I even sitting down and discussing this.
Why did you sign this agreement? So, you have to give them back their $1,000. And in addition, you have a counterclaim for a whole bunch of nonsense, that she did damage to your stove. You want moving costs because you moved with the lovely Ramon into a house and that they should pay for it. You want a whole bunch of things. Let me suggest this to you. Get a job. And so should Ramon. Pay your own bills, pay your own expenses, take care of your own selves, take care of your own children. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Step out.
We do appreciate what she initially tried to do.
I thought Judge Judy was fair.
Well, I think the contract said it all.
The fact that it was $50, only $50 a week was definitely not enough.
That was the arrangement that she brought to us.
Ramon was the one that took Marcy to school. Ramon was the one that picked her friends up.
He was abusive, and she needed to get rid of him.
He was there for Marcy. There was an abusive relationship, in my opinion, without any doubt. I care about Marcy. I still do, and I wish her the best. I hope the best for her, and I hope she stays alive.
27-year-old student Julie Lagos is suing nightclub owner Jack Wade for damages due to an assault. Julie claims one of the club's female bouncers punched her in the head.
Come to order, all rise. Yes, case number 317 on the calendar, the matter of Lagos versus Wade. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Wade, you own a bar?
Yes.
The plaintiff was a patron in that bar?
Yes.
You had an employee in that bar? Female employee?
Yes.
In what capacity did you employ this woman?
The woman is security.
And according to Miss Lagos, this female security guard at your bar assaulted her without provocation. Now, there is some merit to her statement because this security guard pled guilty to assault, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Let us take that as a given. She pled guilty and then she fled the jurisdiction after sentencing. That's what it says here, right?
Yes.
Miss Lagos said she was injured and she wants to be compensated.
Correct.
When were you assaulted in Mr. Wade's bar?
On November 27th of 2003.
Tell me about it.
I was at the bar with a girlfriend. I have never been to that bar before. I went into the bar. I lost my friend. So I proceeded towards where I saw a bouncer at the exit. I asked him, what do people do when they lose their friends? He told me that I can try calling her on my cell phone, which I proceeded to do. And then afterwards, when I tried to come back in, he wouldn't let me back in. And so I was just inquiring on, well, how do I get back in? I'm lost. I've never been here before. And then out of nowhere, the security guard that came in, and she didn't know the conversation at all. And she just butted in and said, what's the problem? And I told her, I said, you know, please don't talk to me that way. You don't know what's going on. And then out of nowhere, she'd hit me on the right side of my head. I started crying. I've never been in a fight before. I asked the bouncer to get me assistance. I felt dizzy. I felt like I was going to pass out.
When she hit you, what did she hit you with?
A closed fist. The bouncer told me at that point to go home and drink it off. It happens all the time. They refused to call the owner.
They refused to call any assistance for me. So I went on my cell phone. Another person who was there helped me walk to my car, and I dialed 911.
Either one of you there that evening?
Right, yes.
Were you at the door?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Kevin Kinzis.
How long have you worked for Mr. Wade?
I have not. I'm a customer there.
You were a customer?
Right.
A regular customer?
Yes.
How did it come about that you accompanied Mr. Wade to court today?
Just I came back there and asked what happened.
Came back
I came back to the establishment and asked him what happened because I saw a bunch of stuff going on at the back exit.
Well, what kind of stuff did you see going on, Mr. Kinsis?
Well, I was leaving through the other exit, and I seen her going through this exit.
Yes.
And I saw a bouncer saying, "You can't come in through this exit." And it just...
And what?
This girl came by and...
Which girl?
This security guard.
Security guard came by and?
She said, "Shut up, you bull dyke, beep," and then, like, flicked her hair.
What? Who said what to whom, sir? You're not being clear. I want you to be clear.
The security guard.
Security guard said to her.
"You cannot come in through here."
Yes.
And I heard, "Shut up, you bull dyke."
Who said it?
The security guard said it to her.
To her. So the security guard cursed her.
Right.
And then hit her.
Well, flicked her, not... I mean, hit her, just like flicked her hair.
And then what did you hear?
That was it. I just left.
So you didn't that really wasn't much of an incident?
No.
So what did you go find Mr. Wade for?
I just asked him what happened that night.
When did you ask him what happened that night?
Probably a week later.
Why would you even think about asking him what happened a week later, sir, if what you described to me was truthful, Mr. Kinsis, that nothing happened, somebody got their hair flicked? Why would that even stay in your mind, Mr. Kinsis?
I just asked him what happened back there, and he told me.
What did he tell you?
That some girl tried getting into the exit, and, "Are you a witness?" And I said, "Yes, I saw it." "What happened?"
Sit down. Aren't you sorry you made a fool of yourself?
Yeah.
Sit down.
All right.
Good. Mr. Wade, Mr. Kinsis is sorry he made a fool of himself.
I think he's scared.
Now, were you hospitalized?
No, I didn't have insurance at
Just
that time.
listen to me. Answer my question. Were you hospitalized?
No, ma'am.
When for the first time did you seek medical assistance?
The next morning.
Do you have a report from a doctor?
I do, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Can I add something?
Yes.
In case you can't read it, the last paragraph of this police report basically says the detective had a call because the...
May I see the police report, please?
Here's the police report, and here's the last paragraph right here.
Oh. Okay. Any medical follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Anything else you got?
No, sir. I have the docket report. I don't know if you need that.
What's your last name?
Dewberry.
What are you doing here?
I was the one that discussed this with her, settling.
You work for Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Stand up, please. What did you discuss with her?
I discussed going over her medical bills with her and coming up with a settlement for the incident that had happened.
When did you first have your conversation with her?
In July of 2004.
When did Miss Mullen plead guilty?
I don't know.
When?
She pled guilty at the end of April of 2004 by the district attorney.
So what took you so long? Why did you wait until July?
That's when I was first contacted by her.
When had she contacted you, Mr. Wade?
About June.
Not before June?
No.
Even though this incident happened in November?
Right.
Is that right?
No, ma'am, it's not right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Claims nightclub owner Jack Wade owes for damages from an assault. Julie claims she was punched in the head by a female bouncer.
Now, when did you first
I first contacted him in December. He said that he was willing to work with me, but he was not going to settle with me for anything until he knew whether or not Lisa pled guilty by the district attorney.
That sounds right. This lady didn't wait, sir, until June. She went to the doctor right away, and she contacted you right away.
That's not true. She called me in June. I didn't know that anything was going on with her. She called me. She told me she'd been there. And
Let me tell you something, sir.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
You see this gentleman over here? He came and testified a moment ago at your request. He said that he spoke to you a week after the incident, which would have been in December.
Yeah.
And you asked him if he could be a witness.
No, I didn't ask him if he would be a
He
witness.
volunteered to be a witness.
No, he coming to me. No.
Right?
Right.
Right, that's what he says, Mr. Wade. Volunteered to be a witness. Now, why would you need a witness if the plaintiff did not contact you from November until June?
He came to me in December, and he said, I was out there that night and heard this commotion, a bunch of yelling. And I said, did you see it? And he said, yeah. I said, what happened? He didn't know why she was yelling and all, just what he saw.
Mr. Wade, you're pulling my leg, sir.
No, I'm not pulling your leg.
Yeah, you are, sir. You're pulling my leg.
No, I'm not.
Because this lady did not wait after she was assaulted in your bar 7 months before she contacted you to be compensated for the assault. Let's get over that, because it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, Mr. Wade, it's not true.
No.
Now,
I have a document here in July that she faxed us stating the damage done to her in July on her own father's fax machine.
Just 1 second. I'm not saying she didn't fax you that in July. I'm not saying she didn't contact you in June. I'm saying it was not the first time she contacted you. The first time she contacted you was prior to June. Now, when was your settlement negotiation with her?
I started discussing them with her in July.
What did you offer her?
I didn't offer anything. I offered to go over the medical bills with her.
Yes.
And come to some sort of settlement. She was first seeking $10,000.
Yes.
We met again, and we came down to a $5,000 settlement based on the fact that these bills were true.
Okay, well, did you read the report from the detective?
No, I didn't
The
receive
report from the
that.
detective indicates that the detective had conversations with a treating physician, whose report I do have here, who indicates that she was in fact injured, that the tenderness in her head was consistent with that injury, that in the opinion of the doctor it was a result of being hit in the head. Okay? Now, whether she had medical bills or not, even if she had no medical bills, you're still responsible. You're liable. You hired somebody to work in your establishment who you shouldn't have hired. I don't know what kind of background investigation you did, but certainly you're responsible. If somebody walks into your bar and a member of your staff assaults them, you're liable. You're liable for her pain and suffering. You're liable for her humiliation. You're liable if she gets dizzy, if she has flashbacks, if she has nightmares. Don't you get that, Mr. Wade?
I understand that. That's why we asked Kim to settle with her to see what the amount would be.
Well, then let me ask you this question, sir. What was the amount that you ultimately offered her?
They talked a discussion about $5,000. And she
So
was
what are
ready.
you doing here? If you offered her $5,000 and that's the maximum that this court can award, why are you here?
When Kim went to settle with her, we said about 7 to 10 days that we'd check the bills and get back to her. Now, on the 9th day, she called Kim up, yelling and screaming at her, and said if we don't have the money by 5 o'clock that day, the deal's off.
Let me ask you a question. If you said you understood what I just said to you, that whether she had medical bills or not, she was assaulted in your bar by one of your employees, and you are responsible. If she had a headache for 3 days, if she had dizziness, if she had tenderness in her head, which is consistent with the medical reports that are here from the detectives, you're responsible. How long did it take you from July to get back to her?
It was probably August when I was told her we'd probably, if he agreed to it, we'd settle in 7 to 10 days. On the 9th day, she called me and told me I better effing figure out a way to get her money tonight or I'd be sorry. Then she called me back again.
So just a minute. So you told her you were going to settle with her in 7 to 10 days. On the 7th day, you didn't settle with her. Get her a check. On the 8th day, you didn't settle with her. On the 9th day, you didn't call her. She called you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can I say something?
Sure.
The 7th and 8th day was on a Saturday and Sunday.
Then she shouldn't have said to her 7 to 10 days. She should have said to her 10 to 14 days.
I didn't do that.
You have a responsibility, Mr. Wade, that when you hire a security guard in your place of business, that you've done an appropriate background check. Now, I'm not going to ask you what kind of background check you did on this woman, because I don't think you did one. Because anybody who is convicted of assault and then takes off, this is not their first offense. This is not the first time that they have been involved in the law. That's your responsibility. And if because of your dereliction and your responsibility to make sure that not only are your doors covered, that people don't sneak in, but that your patrons are safe. Safe. According to the police, this lady was not intoxicated. She was not sloppy. What are you laughing at? Are you inappropriate or what?
She said she filed a report the next day. I just heard her say that.
On 11/27, date of the incident, I was dispatched. I officer was dispatched to South Manchester. Is that where you are, sir?
Yes.
All right. She was not intoxicated. That's the detectives. Why do you think this is funny?
I'm not laughing at you.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
All is excused. You may step out.
I am very excited that justice was served.
I don't want to get into that.
Words can't even say. I've tried and tried again, and he played me, and now he's the one that got played.
I have nothing to say.
He was slick and just didn't want to deal with Julie.
I don't want to talk about that.
On the last day, he told me, see, try and take me to court, and I took him to court, and I prevailed.
I'm very upset right now.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Callahan versus Colarusso. Step forward, please.
Business owner Dawn Callahan is suing her father's ex-girlfriend, homemaker Dee Colarusso, for the return of her late mother's desk. Dee claims the desk was abandoned.
Miss Callahan, Miss Colarusso is your father's former girlfriend.
Correct.
According to your complaint, your father has a desk that belonged to your mother, who passed away, and the desk was to be yours. He was bringing it to you. And he stopped over at his girlfriend's house, and for some reason he left his truck there for a while and the desk. They subsequently broke up. She has your desk. You want it back.
Yes.
You have a picture of the desk?
No, I don't.
Do you?
No, certainly.
I'd like to see it, please. Oh, it's a pretty little lady's desk.
Yes.
Where is it, in your living room?
No, it's upstairs in my bedroom.
How long do you know Miss Callahan?
I'd say approximately a year and a half. Year.
Is she a nice person?
At times.
When did your mother pass away?
April 26, 2002.
Was this her desk?
Yes, it was.
Did you tell Miss Colarusso that it was your mother's desk?
Yes, I did.
When did she tell you that?
To my recollection, I had never heard anything about it except that Lynn moved it into my home 2 minutes after he moved into my home.
He did?
Yes, and left it in my garage.
Yes.
It proceeded to get mildew, all kinds of markings, and all the rest of it. I had a couple of friends come in, empty it out, put the stuff into a green bag to lighten it so they could move it upstairs into my upstairs apartment, and they did so. So no, it's been receiving much better care.
Well, that's very nice, but it's not your desk.
Well, I consider it storage fee.
I don't care what you consider it. You had a storage arrangement with him?
No.
Well, if you didn't have a storage arrangement with him, my dear, then you can't say I'm taking the desk for storage fee.
I took his car for storage fee.
Listen to me very carefully. It doesn't belong to you. It's not your desk. Romance is over. It's over. You can't just decide you're going to protect the property that doesn't belong to you and then somebody says, I want my desk back. You say, well, I took it upstairs and I've been taking care of it, so now it's mine. You have to give her back the desk 5 days from today. Make arrangements with the mover. You want to leave the desk upstairs and have her mover bring it downstairs, or you want your mover to bring it downstairs?
Who says it's her desk?
I do! Now, that's her father. Whose desk is it?
My daughter's desk.
Right. Belonged to her mother. She wants her mother's desk, but she doesn't want you to have it. And it holds absolutely no sentimental value for you whatsoever. Just mad value because you're not together with the prize package anymore. She gets a desk back in 5 days. I'll sign the order. That's it.
Excuse me?
What?
My paperwork, all my mother's legal paperwork that was inside there, 401ks and everything.
I don't know where that is. Where is it?
Gone.
What did you do with it?
It went out with the trash. All the trash that Lenny had dumped.
It's gone. Listen to me. It's probably gone. She's not nice. She's probably mad. Did he dump her?
In a nice way.
I don't care whether it's a nice way. It's never a nice way to a lady to get dumped. Did he dump her?
Yes.
That's what she did with your mother's stuff that was inside the desk.
Okay.
Dumped it. Got it?
Okay.
The desk you get back. 5 days.
Okay.
And it better be in good condition. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very happy I'm getting my mother's desk back.
I would not harm somebody else's antique furniture.
I've been nothing but nice to her and did favors for her, and she turned around and done this to me.
I'm not punishing his daughter. He owes me $375.
It was my great-grandmother's and given to my grandmother, to my mother, and now to me.
The desk is only worth $250.
Just want it back.
Somebody owes me money. I want it back.
27-year-old babysitter Jenny Zanquist is suing her former friend, 26-year-old baker Erica Perez, for unpaid babysitting fees. Erica says the state denied her financial aid. She is countersuing for harassment.
Come to order, all rise. Yes, case number 329 on the calendar in the matter of Zanquist versus Perez. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Zanquist, Ms. Perez and you were friends at one time, yes. And you agreed to babysit for her children while she was working.
Yes.
According to you, the arrangement was you were going to get paid, and then you would fill out some paperwork because she was entitled to child care from the state. Mm-hmm. And then you would accept the money that she got from the state for babysitting. Was that your agreement?
No, we had agreement, and when I first began babysitting, that when she receives her income tax, she will pay me. So I will watch them for $45 a day for 3 days a week, and that she will pay me when she gets her money from income tax.
When did you start to babysit for her?
In the month of December of last year.
And how many children do you have?
3, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing in December of 2003?
I'm working at Dunkin' Donuts still. Same job I've been working at for 3 years.
So you were working for Dunkin' Donuts.
Mm-hmm.
And how much were you earning there?
$7.10 an hour, ma'am.
You get paid every week or every 2 weeks?
Weekly.
How much is your net check every week?
Like $140.
Do you get any public assistance for the children in addition to the $140?
Yes, I receive food stamps from the state.
What other money do you get?
That's child support for my son.
How much do you get in child support?
$93, ma'am.
A what?
A week.
How old are your children?
My oldest is 11, my middle one is 7, and my smallest one is 2.
Okay. And what do you do for a living, Miss A?
I'm a student.
Full-time student? Were you a full-time?
No, part-time. Of course, I didn't register for school because I was depending on the income I was supposedly earning from watching the kids.
Is what you're telling me that you don't do anything right now? It's not an answer.
Put it like that. I do have a disability, so I don't do too much, but I am focusing on school.
When you start, you'll focus. Right now, you're not focusing.
When I start and I don't have to worry about trying to find a job, right?
Miss Zanquist, how long had you and Miss Perez been friends?
We've been friends on and off for 10 years.
Is she telling me the truth when she says she works at Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, she is telling you the truth.
And she, I believe, is telling me the truth when she says she earns $7 an hour.
Yes.
And that her take-home pay is $140 a week.
Yes.
And how many days a week were you supposed to watch her children?
3 days a week. That's
Just
when
a
she
second.
works.
3 days a week. So you expected her to pay you $135 a week.
Yes, I did.
Which means she would go to work for Dunkin' Donuts for $5 a week.
If I can...
No, just a second. I'm doing the math. The math is simple. She comes home with $140 a week, and she was supposed to pay you $135 a week for taking care of her children. That's the math.
That's the math. Can I comment?
Sure.
Erica's working, like she said, 3 years there, part-time. She works there because it's mandatory from the state in order for her to get medical and food stamps benefits. She doesn't have expenses. She doesn't pay rent. Her father owns the house she lives in. She doesn't have any bills. We had an agreement, and she has the funds to pay for it. She has boyfriends that have money that support her too. She has the money to make the agreement, and that's what happened.
Ms. Zanquist, Ms. Perez says that she was going to apply to the state, which does provide child care expenses for people who have low income, and that you did, in fact, fill out the paperwork.
Yes.
When did you fill out the paperwork?
We started the process around April or May.
When?
Your Honor, we started in July. I got the papers.
July of what year?
Of 2004.
Well, she was babysitting for you from December until July.
Jessica's been babysitting my son, Your Honor, now all 3 kids. My son only since May of 2004.
Really?
Yes. I would never agree on paying a babysitter $135 a week when I only make a little chunk change.
Sounds
was
ridiculous.
never an agreement. No
Sounds
agreement.
ridiculous. Can I see the paperwork that you started to fill out?
And it's not my signature either. She forged my signature in it too, Your Honor. That's when it started, Your Honor.
Did you fill out these papers?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I say another thing, Your Honor?
Shh. Which child do you receive support for?
Cyrus, my son.
And Emily?
Emily and Melanie, I don't receive nothing for.
Well, they told you that in order for you to receive money, you have to at least apply for child support from the father of the other two children. Otherwise, they're not going to give you money through this program, Care for Kids.
He's in jail for murder.
Is that Emily's father?
No, that's Melanie's dad.
That's Melanie's father. What about Emily's father?
Emily's dad, child support, is looking for him right now. He got issues in court.
And a warrant for
his
his
arrest. He got
arrest.
a warrant out for his arrest.
For domestic violence.
Okay.
How you know?
Okay. How much money, if any, Miss Perez, did you receive from Care for Kids?
I don't receive no money from Care for Kids, ma'am.
Did you ever receive any
None.
money?
It goes
from
under her name. The check comes under Jessica's name.
How much money, if any, did you receive from them?
Zero. Nothing.
Zero. Well, why?
Can I comment?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't receive anything from Care for Kids because every time we applied, we were denied. Well, every time she applied, she was denied because of lack of information that she was supposed to provide, because of missing deadlines. They have deadlines. You miss it, they deny you. She was adamant about saying no, that we didn't start in January, February, March. In April and May, in the process of Care for Kids, we did start. The person I spoke to at 5/11/04 at 11:40 a.m. was Ingrid, and I have a list of names of people that I've been in contact with
All
from
I
this
have
company.
here, listen to me, all I have here is notification from the state that the application was received on July 9th, 2004. I don't have anything else. Listen to me. Do you have any proof that an application was submitted before that?
No, but I requested information, and they said they wouldn't give it to me, they would give it to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Jenny Zenquist says former friend Erica Perez owes for babysitting fees. Erica says Jenny incorrectly filled out the application for state aid.
Listen to me, madam. I do not believe you that you had an agreement with her to pay you $135 a week when all she earns is $140 a week. That just doesn't make sense. Nobody in their right mind is going to work for $5 a week and pay you $135 a week. What makes sense is that the two of you agreed that you would apply for this program and you would get the money from this program. She would turn it over to you and she would work. And the papers weren't filled out right, and then you had a fight. You had a fight because you had a fight over somebody's ex-boyfriend. I don't know whose ex-boyfriend. Whose was it?
Your Honor, she fought my sister in front of all the kids.
So you had a fight with her sister, and therefore all bets were off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she says, that you had a fight with her sister over somebody's ex-boyfriend. A story that, believe me, at this hour, I am totally disinterested in. I am totally disinterested in the story of the fight that you had with her sister. As far as I'm concerned, when two ladies... What are you looking at me? It's such a ridiculous look on your face. I'm disinterested when ladies fight with each other. I think it's very unseemly. The only thing that I have to determine is whether I believe she made an arrangement to pay you her entire salary check. And I don't believe she did, so your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please excuse me, step out.
Jessica's being now used to go out with my sister 5 years ago, so she got a grudge against my sister.
As far as the fight being over my boyfriend, it wasn't even about that.
She got him now. She's so insecure. She should be happy she got him now, though.
The guy has my name, Jessica, tattooed on his neck.
They make a perfect team together, both of them.
Show me the money.
She got what she deserves. She's crazy. She's crazy. Everybody in Bridgeport knows she's crazy. She's crazy.
And now the next case.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn, lại là mình đây. Các bạn ơi, chúng mình sẽ tiếp tục ôn tập về phần đọc. Trong bài 15 thì những phần trên này, ghép bảng này, phần đọc từ ngữ và luyện viết của các hũ mật ong mà chú ong mang theo. Thì hôm nay chúng mình sẽ tập 2 dòng chữ ở phần cuối cùng trong bài ôn tập đọc này nhé. Đầu tiên sẽ phải ôn tập về cách đọc, cách phát âm, đánh vần từng từ một, xem câu hỏi, câu nói đấy là nói lên điều gì nhá. Đầu tiên các bạn sẽ đánh vần theo mình về dòng chữ đầu tiên này nha. Chờ y chi nặng chị. Chờ o cho. Bờ e be sắc bé. Cờ a ca sắc cá. Cờ ơ cơ huyền cờ. Chị cho bé cá cờ. Lần lượt đọc lại theo mình một lần nữa nhé. Chờ y chi nặng chị, chờ o cho, bờ e bé sắc bé, cờ a ca sắc cá, cờ ơ cơ huyền cờ, chị cho bé cá cờ. Đúng rồi. Như vậy là hôm nay mình và các bạn đã cùng nhau ôn tập lại cách đánh vần và cho đọc thành thạo một câu mới, đúng không nào? Phát âm cho chuẩn này. Chờ y chi nặng chị, cho bé cá cờ. Đúng rồi. Vậy thì để luyện viết thì hôm nay chữ đầu tiên, cái dòng chữ đầu tiên trong cái ô này, về nhà các bạn phải học thật là thuộc, để giờ sau chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau viết chữ này lên trên bảng, đúng nào? Đừng quên là phải đọc thuộc nha. Nhớ nhấn like và đăng ký kênh của mình để cùng mình giờ sau luyện viết nhé. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.